This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation Wrestling Network. Welcome to the latest episode of Who's Next? I am Andy Atherton, one of your co-hosts here, and we are going to be getting caught up on the last 6 weeks or so of NXT. Much better than the marathon that myself and my co-host went through last time to get caught up in about 3 months of NXT brand. But let me bring in said co-host and let's get this show on the road. He is the Mississippi Mud Pie, my friend, Logan Crosland. Logan, it's nice to have not as big a gap between talking to you about NXT, my friend.
Yeah, I feel like we ate the entire Chinese buffet last time, and this time we just ate a comfortable amount, and we're good, you know. So we didn't stuff ourselves this time, but we do have a good bit to talk about, but
oh yeah,
not quite as much as last time for sure.
A lot happened in this short amount of time, shorter amount of time, not a short amount of time by some people's stretch, but not like almost like an entire summer of shows to catch up on. But no, there's always stuff going on at the NXT brand, and I mean, I'm excited. This has been the last 6 weeks or so have been really great, I think, for the brand. I think they're doing some really smart things with it. With the main roster appearances down there, with some people coming up a little bit here and there. Also, we're going to talk about a Tuesday night battle that occurred, during this time period, which was very exciting for us wrestling fans. It was kind of reminiscent of Raw versus Nitro to an extent of announcements and what was going to happen and pulling out all the stops to try to kind of win the night, which, NXT did do. But no, I'm really enjoying what's going on there. But, much like all wrestling pods that talk about current product, you make predictions. You make, calls. You say, oh, this is what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. And then in one fall swoop, some of that can go to shit. when you start saying about this person, that person, oh yeah, they're going to challenge and they're going to do this, they're going to do that, and then next thing you know, there's a mass amount of releases / cuts from WWE, which affected the NXT brand. We're not going to really get into the main roster cuts. If we could, because there's some NXT alumnus in there, but it was a lot of the names, at least on the main roster, were not surprising. You know what I mean? It's like people that have been there for a while. Some people, that maybe needed to move on to another place. Some people that just never got as far as they probably could have or should have. Maybe we'll have in that group, and then in the group we're going to talk about, maybe there's a Drew McIntyre. Maybe there's, Cody, you got to go away, get better, build up your character, create something on your own, and then come back to the fold. So any of the, before we get into the list of names for NXT cuts, any main roster cuts that surprised you or stand out?
Not particularly. But somebody like Dolph, been there for forever. I kind of just figured he was a lifer. I didn't figure they'd release him per se. I figured they may cut his contract a little bit and just keep him around on a Legends deal or something like that. You can kind of tell on some of these that some of these are Vince guys, and some of them were very much not Triple H guys. Yeah. You have a Boogs and a Riddick Moss who got pushed super hard a year or two ago, or within the last 2 years, that are gone now. And then, and a couple of failed Triple H bringbacks, they weren't ever going to work. Yeah. It's just kind of how it happened. You hate for somebody like Emma to come in whenever she did, a year or so ago, and already get released again. But she just doesn't fit for some reason. I think she is better as the big fish in like an impact pond than the small fish in the very big pond that is WWE. So none really surprised me, but just a couple like Shelton and Ziggler. Like I just figured we're gonna be there forever.
Yeah, those are guys though.
Yeah,
I think those are guys that probably left on good terms. So we could see Ziggler like at a Rumble. We could see Shelton appear in the future, like one-offs, short-term deals. Who knows? I think Dolph's going to join his brother over in AEW at some point. I mean, he also had the comedy thing going. Emma, I like Emma, but something like her personality, she just never catches on personality-wise. She's great in the ring, but I think once the whole Emmalina, whatever the hell that thing was, never came to pass. I think the fans never really got over that really with her. Mm-hmm. So, she's somebody that, and Riddick, her guy, Riddick Moss, they're much better at like Impact or something like that. I never really got the Riddick Moss thing. I never got Boogs. They could have put Boogs and Elias together in a tag team and maybe seen how that go. I think they were teasing at that, but yeah, just never. Those were guys actually that could have gone back to NXT, because Elias, when he came up, he was kind of a surprise to me. That was when he got called up, because he was like the grifter, like he hadn't done much down there. Mm-hmm. He was like the opposite of Alexa Bliss. Like Alexa, had a good career in NXT, but she didn't really accomplish much outside of like a really great heel turn, right? She didn't win any championships. Was she really in any memorable feuds? No, but it just clicked when she got to the main roster. But anyway, so let's talk about the NXT releases. So the first name is somebody who asked for a release a while ago and was kept under contract. And then we thought they were going to be in the North American title match, Mustafa Ali. I don't know how they're pronouncing it these days. I was a little surprised at that. Logan, what about you?
Oh, absolutely. Just the fact that he had a title match at the PLE that was coming up, it was just like, really? If they had an inkling or a thought that they were going to release him, like, hey, we might release this guy. Don't put him in a title match coming up. Like you said, he asked for his release a while ago, and I think he's kind of flip-flopped on whether he wants to be there or not at some during that time, but he's a guy that probably deserves a bigger spotlight somewhere else. I think he could be a really good player for Impact. I don't think he needs to go to an AEW, because I think he'll get lost in the shuffle like so many people on their roster do. Mm-hmm. But I think he could be a big star in like an Impact or, something smaller.
Yeah, the guy's talented.
Because he's very talented, but he would definitely get lost in the very star-filled shuffle that AEW has.
Yeah, and the dawn of, as you said, you alluded to like the whole Vince guys, the big men thing. Omos, we haven't seen much of him. I think they're still trying to figure out the Omos thing, because I think they've invested a lot in him. Mm-hmm. But a couple of guys now, Shanky was not on NXT. He got released. But another big man that they've tried a couple of things with, Dabba-Kato, got released, and he had been getting some kind of weird ass push in NXT. It was very odd, that whole mini thing he had with what was it? It was Scripps and Axiom. That was weird. We talked about that. Neither of us could really understand what the point of all that was. But he's a guy. He's a big body. I mean, I can't really see him. He's like somebody I could see him going to, I don't know, maybe an Impact or even AEW, to be in that who's that big guy that hangs around with Jay Lethal, something. Yeah, he reminds me of that kind of guy. Like I don't know if he'll ever be anything in the ring, but as like a bodyguard, maybe. Who knows? Any thoughts on Dabba-Kato?
Yeah, he could go somewhere like that and be like somebody's heavy, but yeah, I don't really know. Like you said, I'm not sure really what they were doing with him towards the end. I think they tried a couple of things, and I don't know if he just because I don't think he was ever going to be good in the ring. He's just such a huge guy, and like he doesn't need to be a great wrestler. He just needs to be a brute force or a blunt force object that just chucks people around and hurts people and stuff like that. So I don't really know what they wanted him to be or what they thought he could be, but he was never going to be above a certain level, I guess. So if he's taking up a roster spot, then yeah, I guess they probably made the right move to get rid of him.
Yeah. Another surprising one, because she was in the middle of an angle or something like that with Kalani Jordan, was Dana Brooke, they were trying to, I guess, do Mandy Rose 2.0 to an extent, where, send her back down there, let her get better, let her get in the ring. And I thought she was getting better, actually. Dana Brooke, to me, was always like, she tried. No offense. Like, I don't mean to say like she's bad or anything like that. She tried. They put her in some really crappy things, like the statistician role with the primetime players. I mean, I did like the tag team she had with Mandy. Maybe they both could have gone down back then at the same time, although, maybe we wouldn't have gotten the greatness from Mandy as much as we did. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, the Dana Brooke thing, that kind of surprised me a little bit. Yeah, she's one of those that had been there for a very long time. She never really reached big heights, but she was a serviceable wrestler, right? Any thoughts on the Dana Brooke release?
Yeah, I mean, she was fine, and it's another surprising one just because she was so featured on TV. With the whole Kalani thing, she was being her mentor, but also seemed to be turning heel and kind of was going to go against maybe Kalani going forward after the Breakout tournament and all that. But it was surprising to see her go. Like you said, she's serviceable. I don't think she was ever going to ascend past a certain level. She was never going to be Mandy. Mandy had so much more charisma and just natural speaking ability than she does. So I don't know that project was ever going to work if that's what they were trying to do. But, like you said, she'd been there for a long time. So it's always surprising to see those that hang around for a while kind of just fade away randomly during some of these releases. But I mean, again, maybe they have somebody in mind that they want to sign, and she was taking up a spot. So
she could also, who knows, she might end up in Impact, and she could be one of those, like, they need a body for the Women's Rumble. I wouldn't be surprised if she showed up. You learn never say never in this business.
Very true.
You never know who could show up in anything. All right. Here's one that I really, no big loss here, in my opinion. Quincy Elliott. I didn't love the character. You had said that I think he rubbed some people wrong backstage. But, yeah, I think I didn't think it was going to connect. I think it was a little too much. I think it was and the guy in the ring didn't really show much. I mean, I think he only had like one or two televised matches in the time, but it was just one of those, like, yeah, we're gonna just cut bait with this dude right now.
Yeah, I think he was kind of like a Riddle on the main roster. He was more trouble than he was worth. So at that point, I think he rubbed some people wrong at one point, and I think he was kind of toast when that happened. It was just a matter of when they were going to do one of these big cut times.
Mm-hmm. And we got this one surprised me a little bit, although like a day or two ago I read that she had actually asked for her release. Was Yulisa Leon, because I kind of enjoyed her little tag team she had with
Valentina Feroz.
Yeah, Valentina. I was kind of enjoying it. And she had been out for a while, and then they were just featured on not featured, but they were basically enhancement talent for the Coven, basically on SmackDown on their debut. But yeah, that was a little surprising. I mean, Yulisa, Valentina who knows what they'll do with her now, but maybe they'll put her with back with what's her face, Elektra Lopez, and maybe the whole Lola Vice. Maybe they'll add her to that group. But any thoughts on Yulisa?
Yeah, maybe they'll do some kind of trio with them. But no, yeah, that one would surprise me as well, because I enjoyed their tag team as well. I mean, obviously they were green, but they showed some fire. They showed some, high flying ability and stuff like that. I wondered if it had something to do with her injury, but if she asked for her release, they probably just said, okay, if that's what you want.
Yeah, I think she wanted to go back. It may sound like she wanted to go back to maybe wrestle in Mexico, because I think she just debuted for another company. It might have been in Mexico. I'm not sure, but it was one of those things like you scroll you scroll on Facebook and you see like Ringside News or Sportskeeda or something like that. So it had something on her.
Yeah, but that would surprise me. But not a huge loss at the same time.
Yeah. This one surprised me a little bit, although again, I don't know about a big lot. Ikemen Yiro. Mm-hmm. I mean, once Jacket Time came to an end, it was one of those things like it would never translate to the main roster. First of all, it's like worse. It would be worse than Yoshitatsu translating to the main roster. But I mean, the guy was decent in the ring, was a high flyer, but is the whole Jacket thing was out there. But I mean, he was one of those like kind of an R-Truth, like a comedy character. And maybe he wanted to, he had talked to them about maybe going back to Japan or wherever he had come from before that. So any thoughts on Jiro?
Yeah, I'm assuming it was that with a combination of like they already have the goofy Japanese guy in Tozawa, so they didn't really need two of them. But yeah, I'm assuming he has to somewhat he has to be released to go back and maybe wrestle some in Japan. So I assume this was kind of one that was cordial and kind of it's fine. I'll go back to Japan and be with my people and wrestle the way that I want to. So
And then there were a couple of names that like I think I may have seen on Level Up once or twice. Brooklyn Barlow and Bryson Montana. Those are NXT name generators if you ever heard any.
Yes, but yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, that's one straight out of PTV NXT for sure. But yeah, Brooklyn Barlow, I think she was one of those athlete NIL deals that they signed straight out of college. And then I honestly think Bryson Montana is the same way. So just some athletes that, they thought had a good look, but just didn't pan out.
Yeah, it's one of those like throw it up against the wall, see what sticks. And more times than we know about, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just we only know about it.
We don't even have a clue that ever showed up to the PC, and just never worked out.
All right, so on to the shows. So we pick up right on September 26th of this year, 2023. The opening match is the Global Heritage Invitational Finals. Butch versus Joe Coffey with Gallus, with Metaphor in the Meta Lounge to watch the match. So the match ends with Enziguri by Butch. Coffey spins and lands all the best for the bells. Both men are down. Coffey crawls towards a pin. Butch traps him in an armbar. Coffey turns it into a powerbomb. Coffey lands another send-off. Butch kicks out. Coffey sends Butch out of the ring. Butch avoids another send-off, which sends Coffey crashing into the ring steps head first. Butch sends Coffey back into the ring, hits the bitter end for the win, and he wins the number one contender, I guess, for the Global Heritage Cup. We had some interference from Gallus as well with, I believe, was this the one where Ridge comes down? No, we get that later, right? I believe so. That's later. Okay, so what do you think of Butch winning this over your favorite guy?
Well, with Dar being a heel, it made sense for the face to win this one. I'm glad Coffey didn't win because the Global Heritage rules already bore you to death, so I'm sure it would do most of the rest of the crowd the same if it was heel on heel, and especially if the other heel was Joe Coffey. So at least you had Butch in there, and maybe he could pull a good match out of Noam and make the stipulations and all that work into their favor. But these guys have a pretty good chemistry. They had a ton of matches in NXT UK. They even had a takeover match on one of the UK specials when Butch was the UK champion. So they've wrestled a lot. I think they have pretty good chemistry. I thought this match was pretty good. Nothing all time or anything like that, not anything super great, but just a pretty good 3-star right down the middle kind of match that I really enjoyed.
All right, so we get some backstage stuff with Dominic finding out there'll be a triple threat to determine the challenger for him at No Mercy. Then we go to a fancy restaurant where our NXT tag champions Tony D and Stax are waiting for the rest of the tag teams to show up. They are going to decide who they will face at No Mercy. Angel and Humberto arrive first and tell the tag champs that they are interested in food. They want a title shot. They aren't interested in food, sorry. Then we get Blair Davenport backstage saying Gigi Dolan can't match her brutality. And then we have a match with Trick Williams versus Joe Gacy with Ava. Williams leaps frogs over Gacy, lands a body slam. Gacy blocks a hip toss and lands a DDT. Gacy works over Williams. Williams fires up and hits a leg lariat. Gacy tries the upside down, but Trick counters it with a running knee for the win. After the match, the Trick asks who he thinks who he thinks will walk away with the NXT Championship and No Mercy. He notes that he just had his best win ever, and they're asking about another man. Trick says it will be always Trick Mello Gang, so he would be a fool to bet against him. The crowd cheers. Trick pauses, says Mello has his title. Maybe it's time for him to get his. So the backstage stuff, was fine with Dominic. The whole restaurant thing, that works for Tony D and Stax and their characters. So I don't mind that kind of stuff, even though they've gone to that a few times. It kind of stays within their character. And I do like the brooding Blair Gigi feud here. So we got Trick starting his ascension. This is a guy that's really kind of grown and improved a lot since we've been doing this, at least, because I was not a big on him, and he's gotten over with the crowd. He's been better in the ring. I mean, what's going on with Joe Gacy now that Schism is looks like it's pretty much done, right? And I don't know what direction they're going with Ava. But any thoughts on this match and Trick?
Yeah, I mean the match was just to get Trick over, kind of
get him over on a name, yeah.
Yeah. Just to elevate him and give him a win over a name. And yeah, obviously the Schism is pretty much no more. The Dyad's gone, and he seems to kind of trying to separate himself from Ava as we go on. But yeah, this is just to get Trick over, get him have some forward momentum. Obviously, he says something about getting some gold after the match, so that'll be a talking point going forward as well. But yeah, the other stuff, Tony D and all them, that'll happen throughout the night, the rest of the night, with the restaurant stuff and eating with all the different teams. But yeah, Trick looked good, and he'll continue his ascension.
All right. So we go backstage. Andre Chase and Duke Hudson see Thea Hail's new look. Basically, she's going through the Sandy from Grease treatment.
How you doing, stud?
Yeah, it's like Rizzo got her hand. Jacy Jayne playing the Rizzo part here. We got Chase and Duke are shocked by Hail's short skirt and leather. Then we move on to a match between Baron Corbin and Josh Briggs. Corbin drives Briggs into the corner. Corbin slaps Briggs. Briggs fires up, unloads on Corbin, sending him over the top. Briggs sends Corbin into the barricade, back in the ring. Corbin runs into a big boot by Briggs, modified Uranagi by Corbin. Briggs kicks out. Corbin works over Briggs, cheap shot, while the referee is distracted. End of days by Corbin for the win. After the match, he grabs a mic and says he's going to do to Braun Breaker what he did to Briggs tonight. Then Braun power walks to the ring and attacks Corbin. Security hits the ring, tries to separate both men. Referees join in and eventually separate them. So I kind of low-key like Baron Corbin, right? I don't love the character as much, but in ring, I actually think he's a very athletic big man, and I kind of really love End of Days. I kind of do. When it's hit crisp, oh my God, I do pop for it. Briggs, I think Briggs is got a huge upside to him. Yep. Once him and Jensen probably are going to stay together for a while. I don't think they're going to try to break them up again. But I can see them, being together, and then, they're kind of starting to get long in the tooth a little bit, I think, down there. Mm-hmm. So we could see them up within the next 6 months to a year. I think we could see them on the main roster. And I think Corbin's one of those, let's send him down to NXT. Let's have him feud with the younger guys. Let's have him, get in there and work with them. And I think he's been really solid since he's been down there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Corbin's been really good in this role that they've put him in, kind of being the main roster gatekeeper to some of these guys. But yeah, I've always been a Baron Corbin guy, so I won't shit on him like most other people will. But yeah, I thought this was a decent match. Definitely did a lot for Briggs' future potential, kind of like you said, as maybe a singles guy eventually. Like you said, I don't think they'll break up the team since they basically already did that just a little while ago, and I don't think they'll quite do that again. I don't know that they'll go to the main roster anytime soon. I think they may get elevated to the higher parts of the tag team division because they haven't really been champs or been much in that picture except for maybe a few matches here and there. But yeah, I think they could definitely elevate to the higher parts of the tag division because I think they're a team that a lot of people sleep on in NXT.
Yeah, I do. I kind of love. They're very good with like the hot tag. They're not. I mean, they might get a heel run, but their style is very babyface.
Oh yeah.
So I really don't know if they'll try that with them. Kind of like what they did with like the Smoking Guns, maybe. All right, so we move on to Nema and Price, now known as OTM, with Scripps versus Hank and Tank. Basically a squash here with a distraction from Scripps. Price and Nema hit an assisted spine buster for the win. Then we go backstage. Gigi's getting ready for her match. The lights go out, come back on. We got Davenport standing over her. We go back to the restaurant. The Creed brothers arrive, make bad jokes. And then we have another match. We have a strap match, Eddie Thorpe versus Dijak. And we move towards the end of the match where Dijak has got Thorpe's throat. He choke slams him on the apron. Then Eddie crawls towards the barricade near his family. Dijak whips Thorpe with the strap in front of his family. Dijak pulls off his white belt, which he uses to desecrate Thorpe's native land. Thorpe then dodges Dijak's loaded punch and whips him with a strap. Eddie wraps the strap around his elbow, diving elbow drop, and then he pins Dijak for the win. After the match, Dijak attacks Thorpe and hits Feast Your Eyes. Dijak traps Thorpe in the tree of woe and whips him with the white belt. His family screams at Dijak as he wears Eddie out. The referees run down and pull Dijak away. So I kind of, going back to the OTM, I really like, I think tag teams need names, in my opinion. I do. That's just like, maybe that's like old school mentality in me, but I really love that. Very rare, outside of those, like, let's put two guys feuding or two, legends together. We don't get a lot of, teams. Maybe Edge and Christian is maybe like the biggest exception to that, where they don't have a name and they are major success. And but these guys, I like them. They're big. They're brooding. They're kind of the anti Briggs and Jensen, I guess, if you want to say that. The backstage stuff was fine. Eddie Thorpe, Dijak. I'm still. I mean, I'm not there with Eddie Thorpe yet. I get it. It's nice. It's good. He's not bad in the ring. But I don't know. He's just, to me, I mean, I don't know. I'm not there with him. And Dijak, I think, is good. I think his run though has been maybe a tad disappointing, since he hasn't really won a title, which he maybe should have at some point up to now. But he's kind of, Baron Corbin, I think, being there kind of steals his thunder a little bit. Similar guy, a little similar style. But, Dijak, I think, again, another guy that has a huge upside that I think, once, he gets some momentum, will be, in the, at least, secondary title picture. Any thoughts on these last couple of matches?
Yeah, it was good to see Nema and Price get kind of a win. I think that qualified them for the Fatal 4-Way at the PLE. So gets them in a big match at a big show. So that's good to see a new team. Poor Hank and Tank, but Nema and Price seem to be the ones they're pushing.
Well, Hank and Tank, they got their time will come. They'll just get better. You know what I mean? Like they need to lose now so they can win later.
That's true. I agree. But I liked the strap match. I thought it was physical. I thought it felt like it should have. It was a fight between two guys that really don't like each other as it's built. And obviously, Dijak taunts his family at ringside for most of the match. So, it made Eddie a little bit more pissed off, and, he knocks him around a good little bit. But yeah, another loss for Dijak. It doesn't seem like he's ever getting enough forward momentum to like really do anything. But I think Thorpe's a guy that they're pretty well behind. So he's probably he was always probably going to end up on top at the end of this rivalry. So. But yeah, who knows if it's the feud ender, because he attacks him afterwards. So we may see another match between these two.
All right, and we move on to Danny Palmer versus the repackaged or new and improved, new attitude, new look Thea Hail with Jacy Jayne. Before the match starts, though, Blair Davenport rushes the commentary desk and takes Vic's headset. She announces that she has more where that came from for Gigi. Then Thea comes out with new music and a new all-black ring gear. So we get into the match. We get Danny does a headstand to avoid Hail and locks in a headlock after a cartwheel. Hail and Palmer trade submission attempts. Palmer sends Hail flying with a Rana. Hail responds with one of her own. Palmer lands a drop kick but misses a splash in the corner. Exploder suplex by Hail. Palmer kicks out. Palmer misses a dive but lands on her feet. Hail traps Palmer in the Kimura. Palmer taps out. Then we go backstage. Trick tries to talk to Carmelo about his potential title opportunity. Carmelo is distracted by his phone. He tells Williams that he has to focus on his contract signing tonight. Trick agrees and notes that he has stuff to focus on now too, and walks away. Carmelo realizes he messed up but doesn't go after Trick. So Danny Palmer, she's good. She's still green. I think she's athletic. I think there was some of the other injuries may have affected her, because I believe they were going to put her and Saul together in a tag team. But I like, she's one of those, like, it doesn't matter if she loses at this point in her career. Thea, you're gonna give her like somewhat of a repack. She's got to win, and it was a pretty convincing win. And we continue on with the Trick and Mello slow burn here, that's going to build to something at some point, I believe. Any thoughts on this part of the show?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to obviously, even still at this point, I think it's going to build to something eventually. But Thea debuts the new look, the new music. So, like you said, she obviously needs to get the win to put that new character over, maybe a more aggressive side, more angry side of her. So yeah, she definitely needed to get the win there, and like you said, Trick and Mello, this kind of starts the slow burn for them, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we get a NXT North American Championship number 1 contenders match, which turned into a fatal 4-way. Actually, it's Dragon Lee versus Trick Williams versus Tyler Bate versus Axiom. So we get a lot of action here. As soon as the bell rings, Bate and Axiom super kick Trick. Trick falls out of the ring. He starts to stir. Bate takes him out with a dive. Axiom and Lee trade shots in the ring. Axiom and Lee both land dives. Lee sets up the Dragon Bomb. Williams turns it into a Boston Crab. Bate then traps Lee in a crossface. Axiom hops on Trick's back and locks in a sleeper. Bate breaks up the sleeper with a clubbing blow to Axiom. Trick destroys Bate with a big boot. Double flagjack on Axiom and Bate by Williams. After the break, Axiom drops Bate on his head with a half Nelson suplex. We had a brawl between all the competitors. Then Trick lands a double rock bottom on Bate and Axiom. Bate surprises Williams with a DDT. Bate then airplane spins Lee while Bate swinging Axiom in an incredible power display. Then Trick sends Bate into the ropes. Bate then bounces off and lands with his rebound lariat. I always pop for that. Bate then pins Williams. Axiom breaks up Bate's pin with a stomp that leaps off Bate's back and hits a Canadian Destroyer on Lee. Everyone lands a big move. Axiom lands an avalanche Spanish fly on Lee. Lee kicks out, immediately hits the Destino. Williams then breaks up the pin. Lee headbutts Williams, who clocks heads with Bate, knocking him off the apron. Trick then bounces off the ropes and lands on top of Axiom for the win. And your winner and number 1 contender, Trick Williams. Backstage, and Trick finds Hayes on his way to his ring. Carmelo and Trick dap each other up. Hayes says they're both leaving NXT No Mercy with gold. I kind of really loved this match. This was a really fun 4-way match with, guys with, some high flyers. We got some power in there. I really enjoyed this. I think the right call was made with Trick here. So give your thoughts, and also, so is Trick the replacement for what Ali was basically going to happen with him?
Yeah, I mean, from reports that you hear afterwards, it seemed like Ali was going to win the belt at No Mercy. So whether what happens with Trick after this and after No Mercy, whether that was supposed to happen to Ali as well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't say for sure because I wasn't there when they decided all that. But yeah, I mean, Trick deserved it. The crowd's super behind him. He has the new music with the kind of crowd participation parts to it. And Booker T does the one good thing that he does, where he kind of sings along to it.
Whoop, that Trick.
Yeah, and he's just like, "What? Okay, yeah," as it's kind of going along. So, but yeah, this match was really awesome. Really fast paced the whole way. With Bate, Axiom, and Dragon Lee in there, you're gonna get some really cool high flying stuff, whatever they do. And like I said, Trick's been getting better. He's gotten very over. So, really, at least 3 out of the 4 guys you could have seen winning this match. I think Axiom probably is your odd man out there, but with the way Trick has been building momentum, and those other 2 guys are really good, so you could see them winning as well. So, but I think they made the right decision go with Trick here because he's obviously the hot thing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So then we close the show with a contract signing. There seem to be a lot of contract signings lately in WWE. I think maybe something Triple H may be a fan of. Who knows? Mm-hmm. And they always end one way or the other usually. But we got Carmelo Hayes and Ilja Dragunov. Basically, a lot of jaw-jacking back and, promising to beat each other. And, Dragunov says he's promises to end Hayes' dynasty. Carmelo says the championship is bigger than both of them. Carmelo says Dragunov is capable of being champion, but isn't better than him. So then we get that ends, and we get Vic announcing Dragon Lee will be the referee for the North American Championship title match at NXT No Mercy. In the parking lot, we got Braun Breaker and Baron Corbin in a fight. Braun tries to spear Corbin. Corbin sidesteps. Breaker goes through a car door. Corbin then slams Breaker on the roof of a car. Braun sits up and attacks Corbin again. Corbin escapes into the arena. Braun follows. Corbin and Breaker crash through a wall, end up in HBK's office. Referees and officials swarm to try to separate both men. I mean, I thought the contract signing was fine. It did what it had to do to build up. Both guys are really good on the mic. The addition of Dragon Lee as the referee to the North American title adds a little intrigue. And then we get the brawl between Braun and Corbin. I mean, is there anything that Braun hasn't smashed through in his run there? Walls, cars, it doesn't matter for him. But I like that they're turning this into a couple of guys that really just want to tear each other apart. And it's a fun way to end the show. What are your thoughts on the closing segments here?
Yeah, that gives this match a little fire for being a match that maybe isn't the sexiest when you look at the pay-per-view card. Like, oh, why are these 2 guys facing each other? Because they're kind of both heels, kind of the same kind of brute force kind of object kind of guys. So, like you said, the contract signing was fine. One of the rare ones that doesn't end in physicality. They kind of just stare at each other at the end. So. And then, Dragon Lee getting added as the referee obviously definitely adds some intrigue because he's had a lot of problems with Dominic lately. So he will probably be somewhat of a difference in that match for sure. But, yeah, good little brawl throughout the NXT arena and parking lot to end the show.
All right. So we move on to No Mercy, the PLE that took place on September 30th. We had one pre-show match. It was Kalani Jordan versus Blair Davenport, with Blair getting the win. I mean, Kalani got a little bit of offense in there, but really was modified squash. And we move on to the main card opener, was Baron Corbin versus Braun Breaker. We moved to the towards the end of the match, and we had some brawling in the crowd in this early on, but we get Braun going for a spear, but Corbin lifts him in the air, sending him through a table with one-arm spine buster. We got Baron Corbin crawling away. Braun sits up, screams, and spears Corbin out of his boots. Then Braun sends Corbin into the ring and calls for the recliner. Mr. Stone appears out of nowhere and dives off the top rope. Braun catches him and tosses him out of the ring. Braun then turns around and walks right into End of Days by Corbin, and Baron Corbin pins Braun Breaker. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on the Blair Davenport Klein Jordan match, but the hot open here with kind of a surprising finish with the Baron Braun match. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't remember much about the pre-show match, if I'm being honest with you. I was more wondering why it wasn't Blair and Gigi, because they had seemed to have the rivalry. So I think it's probably just a way to get Kalani on there, as that, they're kind of setting her up for the, this breakout tournament that's going to be coming up in the weeks to follow. But yeah, definitely a surprising result here. I definitely thought Braun would take this one just to, kind of build some more momentum to obviously maybe another match with Vaughn, or maybe going back after the title again. So definitely was surprised that Baron won. Obviously with the interference, that's kind of the reason that he did lose. But I've said this to multiple people at this point. I really think Braun needs to go up sooner rather than later, because he's almost putting too many people over in the process of getting, to the main roster. So I don't want his cred to kind of be completely tarnished because, he lost to, a bunch of people on the way up. Now he's losing to top level guys, I'll admit, but it's just, I feel like at this point he might be losing to too many people, and he won't be as big of a deal going to the main roster as I feel like he could have been if he left 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah. I know they needed to test run this heel run and heel turn and all that kind of stuff, but I think they could have done that shortly and just said, hey, you're ready to go. I'll have more thoughts on that kind of as we get probably towards the later episodes with him and a couple of other guys. But yeah, definitely interesting result. I get it, because I feel like Baron's going to be kind of in the main event picture going forward after this, but Braun is obviously headed towards another match with Vaughn at some point, so we'll see how that ends up.
Yeah, I mean, Corbin can't lose everything while he's there. In order, he'll lose all of his cred there. Braun, I'm trying to think, I don't think he'll be up by Survivor Series. Maybe he'll be one of those gets called up in the process of being in the Rumble.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. All right. So move on to our next matches, which is for the NXT North American Championship. We get Dominic Mysterio defending against Trick Williams, special guest referee Dragon Lee. Before the bell rings, Dominic drop kicks Trick. Trick kicks out of it. Then Dominic argues with Dragon Lee about the count. Trick rolls up Dominic for a near fall. Big shoulder block by Trick. Dominic then rolls out the ring, grabs his title. Dominic tries to leave, but Trick floors him with a boot. Then Trick tries to get in the ring, but Dominic kicks the middle rope into Williams' crotch. Dominic works over Trick. Dominic antagonizes Trick, fires up, lands a flurry of offense. We get a 619 by Dom. Trick ducks a super kick that hits Lee. Lee falls out of the ring. Trick lands a kick and pins Dominic, but there's no referee. A new ref appears and counts to 2. Dom then tries to run the ropes, but the referee is in the way. Dominic runs over the referee, then misses a splash off the top rope, which leads to Trick pinning him, but there's no referee. Trick then wakes up Dragon Lee. Dominic tries to hit Trick with the title belt. Trick ducks, hits a leaping knee strike for the win. And your winner and new NXT North American Champion, Trick Williams. Again, another surprising result, I think, but maybe the plan was for Dom to lose here all along. Didn't really kind of matter to who, but I think now that it kind of gives them more to work with, I think, with Trick being in this as opposed to Mustafa Ali, although I'm sure they had probably fine plans with him. But what are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, it almost makes you wonder what they would have done with Ali after this. But yeah, another surprising win for Trick. I won't say the Fatal 4-Way was a surprising win. I think he kind of seemed like the obvious choice once he was added. But I definitely didn't really see him taking it off Dom here. Maybe eventually, but not maybe on his first try. I think with the addition of Dragon Lee as the ref, it kind of probably somewhat tipped the hand that maybe they were going to do a change. But yeah, I think it was a solid match. It wasn't anything great. These two guys are still, I won't say green, but they're younger in their professional careers than others may be. So they're not just the greatest in ring guys. There were, obviously some botches at certain points throughout this match. That we'll get. They'll get better, and with experience and stuff like that, you'll have less and less of those. And these guys have definitely vastly improved from where they were probably a year or two ago in Dominic's case. But really, really happy for Trick. I think he's improved a lot, so he deserves to be elevated up the card like this.
Probably two guys that would be your 1A and 1B of most improved, I think, over the last year or so, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And NXT wise, definitely Trick, and then main roster and this Dom for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's funny is it's all worked out in the end, but I would always say, like, why didn't Dom get an NXT run to kind of build him up? But yeah, look, the guy is he's like one of those. He went to the NFL right out of high school, or NBA right out of high school guys, and didn't play college ball. Kind of thing, and it kind of worked out. One of those surprising picks, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, and we move on to our next match, which is for the NXT Tag Team Championship, with the D'Angelo family in a final four-way defending against the Creeds with Ivy, OTM with Scripps, and Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. We get a brawl to start out, which spills out of the ring. Julius dives off the top onto Carrillo and Garza. OTM work over Brutus. Carrillo tags himself in as Stax does the same. Carrillo lands a springboard splash. Then Stax responds with a Manhattan drop. Tony D and Stax beat down Garza, and then Humberto. And then we got Tony D picking up both Garza and Carrillo. D'Angelo's knee gives out. The referee calls for the medical team. Tony D is helped out of the ring while the other competitors start brawling again. Scripps gets up on the apron. Ivy drop kicks him off. Brutus gets a tag and clears the ring. Brutus then puts Garza in an ankle lock. Julius hits the ring and suplexes everyone who gets in the ring. Humberto breaks up the submission hold. OTM and Carrillo beat down Stax. Tony D limps back to the ring. Referees and officials try to hold him back. Tony D headbutts an official and power limps to the ring. Tony D then clears the ring. Then we get a four-corner suplex spot that leaves everyone being down. Price and Nima hit their finish on Tony D. Stax breaks up the pin. Brutus picks up Nima for an avalanche Brutus ball. Humberto breaks it up. Angel Garza drop kicks Nima off Brutus' shoulders. Brutus then lands a springboard Brutus ball outside the ring. Stax and Tony D hit their finisher on Price for the win. Your winner and still NXT Tag Team Champions, the D'Angelo family. I really enjoyed this match. Again, this was a really good card. NXT lately, ever on their PLEs, there's really a bad match, and this one really was good. These teams went all at it. Some good brawling, some good storytelling with Tony D. I was a little surprised that Price took the pin, being that it's a new team that they had just started to really give a little momentum to. I don't think the Creeds could have taken it. I mean, Humberto and Carrillo are in the middle of a repack or a reinvention, so to speak. So yeah, but I was kind of surprised that one of the new kids got it. But still, I think the call was right. I like Ivy, taking care of Scripps here. And what are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Kind of chaotic at points.
Yes.
But I think that benefited it for sure. These are at least three really good teams. OTM will get there. They've got to get more experience for sure. But the D'Angelo family and the Creeds are great. And Angel and Humberto are really good in the ring. So you weren't ever going to get a bad match here. I'm not really surprised that they, the new guys took the pin, because I think they think a lot of the Creed brothers, as we'll talk about maybe at the end of the pod. And I think Humberto and Angel will be a part of this tag title picture going forward from here. I think they're still a team that they kind of want to push heavily. So I think the new team kind of had to take the pin here. I think they were put here to elevate them for sure, but I think they're still the kind of low team on the totem pole out of these four.
All right. So we move on to our next match, which is for the Heritage Cup Championship. Noam Dar with the Metaphor, defending against Butch with Tyler Bate. So we go through the round format here. At the end of round one, it's 0-0. In round 2, Dar hits a Nova Roller for the pinfall in there, so he goes up 1-0. Then we go to round 3, and Butch hits Noam with a bitter end for the pinfall, tying it up at 1. At the end of round 4, there are no pins or submissions. Noam does pass out right as the bell rings to end the round after being in a modified armbar by Butch, saved by the bell, so to speak. We go to round 5. Again, no points. Move ahead. Butch stomps on, Dar hits a brainbuster on the apron. Butch somehow kicks out right at the end. Then Butch then stomps on Noam's hand after the bell ends to rings to end the round. Then we get to round 6 with interference from the Meta-4. We get Butch hitting the bitter end with we go back to Last Legend wrapping Dar's hand before the bell rings for the final round. Then Mensah cheap shots Butch again behind the referee's back. Noam lands another Nova Roller, then Butch kicks out. Then Tyler Bate drives off the top rope on Orem Mensah. Butch then snaps Dar's finger, bitter end by Butch. Noam kicks out. Gallus then attacks Bate outside the ring. Joe Coffey hits the ring in confusion and drops Butch with all the best of bells, with Dar pinning Bate takes a 2-1 win, and he holds on to the Heritage Cup. So now this, I actually missed this match for that when I was watching, so I didn't really get a chance to catch it. But again, I'm not that high on the Heritage Cup, but I think they, the storytelling here worked with the format. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think this was probably the best big arena Heritage Cup match we've had. I think this was a good matchup, and it had the bells and whistles with the interference and all that kind of stuff. So it was very smartly worked. Cheap finish, which a lot of Noam's matches seem to have and probably will have going forward. But like I said, I think this was probably the best Heritage Cup match in one of these big arena kind of shows so far. I've always said, it's not the greatest style of match, but I think it does play better in the smaller arenas, just because it seems like the crowd can get a little bit more invested, and it doesn't seem to just exist like it does in some of these bigger arena shows when maybe not everybody's reacting, but the NXT arena will always react pretty well. So, but yeah, like I said, I think this was probably the best one that they've done in one of these PLE kind of formats.
All right. So move on to our next match, which is for the NXT Championship. We got Carmelo Hayes defending against Ilja Dragunov. As soon as the bell rings, Dragunov boots Hayes in the face. Dragunov then beats down Hayes, and then he sends him out to the apron. A big boot by Dragunov sends Carmelo flying off the apron. Dragunov yells at Carmelo that this is his ring. Then Carmelo hits the ring and unloads on Dragunov. Hayes then tries a springboard. Dragunov avoids it and turns Hayes inside out with the Constantine special. We get a kick out by Carmelo. Machine gun chops by Dragunov. Dragunov and Hayes then trades strikes. Dragunov floors Hayes with a strike. And we get Carmelo blocking a chop from Dragunov. Carmelo has fire in his eyes as he lights Dragunov up with chops of his own. Dragunov then leaps in the air, but Hayes meets him with a drop kick. Springboard bulldog by Carmelo. Dragunov responds with multiple German suplexes. Carmelo breaks out of Dragunov's grip and tries a German suplex of his own, but Dragunov elbows his way out of it. He then tries another Constantine special. Carmelo hits with his patented head scissors into a facebuster. Ilja kicks out at 2.9, basically. Then Hayes then stomps Dragunov's head into the mat. Dragunov blocks a running boot from Carmelo, running knee strike by Dragunov. Dragunov then powerbombs Hayes. Dragunov tries a coast-to-coast. Carmelo tries to counter with a first 48, but Dragunov blocks that. Picks up Carmelo and DVDs him into the corner. Coast-to-coast by Dragunov. Hayes kicks out. Dragunov sits Hayes on the top rope. Then Carmelo knocks Dragunov off the top rope. Dragunov gets to his feet, slaps Carmelo off the top rope. Carmelo falls out to the apron. Dragunov pulls Hayes back into the ring with a superplex. Dragunov tries the torpedo Moscato. Hayes blocks it with a first 48. Dragunov bounces off the ropes, hits the H-bomb. Carmelo kicks out. Dragunov hits another H-bomb, this time off the top rope. Carmelo amazingly kicks out. Dragunov then hits the torpedo Moscato Again, this time Hayes counters with a super kick. Dragunov kicks out. Both men roll out onto the apron and trade slaps. Then Carmelo lifts Dragunov in the air, hits a cutter to the floor. Carmelo dives off the top, but then Dragunov catches him with a lariat midair. Carmelo is rocked. Dragunov goes up to the top, hits a super H-bomb for the win. And your winner, new NXT champion, Ilja Dragunov. This was a heck of a match. I really enjoyed it. These guys went all out. I think Melo has been a great champ, but I think Dragunov's time, it was like, if he doesn't win here, like what else is there for really down there? Yeah. And obviously he's got more story to tell down there in NXT by winning the belt here. And there is more you can do with Melo. I mean, Melo could go to the main roster, but it's not necessary for him. But yeah, I really enjoyed this match. Good win for Dragunov. He kind of came in as a big deal and finally, ascends to the top of the NXT proper mountain after dominating NXT UK. And what are your thoughts on this match?
No, yeah, this match was awesome. And, going in, like on the last pod, I'm pretty sure I said something to the effect of whoever loses this match is probably main roster bound before too long, because there's just not much else that they can do. I think we'll see with Melo. There may be a little something that he could do going forward, but once that's kind of over with, he's probably main roster bound for sure. But, I think this was definitely like whoever wins is NXT champion, obviously, and whoever loses might have a little bit of business to deal with before they go up, but they're going up for sure. But yeah, happy to see Ilja finally achieve this and kind of get to the top of the mountain, like you said, because he did dominate NXT UK there towards the end. And then, obviously came in as a big deal out of that. And, he has incredible match after incredible match. And this is probably the match of the year for NXT, without a doubt, because it's just awesome. And if you haven't seen this match, you need to go out of your way to see it, because it's just really, really, really great stuff. So check it out.
Oh yeah, I agree. All right, so we move on to our main event, which is the ladies with the NXT Women's Championship Extreme Rules match. We got Becky Lynch defending against Tiffany Stratton. So this is a lot. So this is a big write-up, so I'm gonna skip through a little bit of it. But basically, it's Tiffany meets Becky in the aisleway. She lights her up with Lynch then lights her up, Stratton up with a kendo stick. Becky puts on a construction helmet, headbutts Tiffany. Tiffany runs away. Fight spills into the crowd. As Tiffany and Becky fight up the ramp, a fan hands Lynch a thick gold chain. Becky wears Stratton out with it. Tiffany's head is bleeding. Becky beats Tiffany back to ringside. Becky dives off the barricade into a kendo stick shot from Tiffany. Tiffany lands a double stomp for a near fall. Tiffany brings a toolbox into the ring. Crowbar shot by her. She then pulls out a hammer, but Becky avoids it. Sidewalk slam by Stratton. Then we get Becky kicking out. Tiffany works her over with a chair. Then Becky surprises Stratton with a suplex. Tiffany rolls out of the ring. Becky catches Tiffany with a baseball slide, followed by an elbow strike off the apron. Tiffany gets to her feet. Becky hits Tiffany with a shopping cart. Tiffany falls in. Becky crashes the cart into the ring steps. Becky brings a bag into the ring and empties it. A bunch of Barbie doll pieces fall out. Becky DDT Stratton onto the toys. Tiffany then rolls out the ring again. Becky tosses doll pieces at Tiffany. Tiffany blocks them with a trash can lid. Becky manages to suplex Tiffany into the barricade. Becky pulls the table from under the ring. Tiffany hits Lynch with a kendo stick and sets up the table herself. Becky disappears. Tiffany looks for her, but Becky is nowhere to be found. Tiffany looks under the ring again, and Becky sprays her with a fire extinguisher. Becky then pulls a barbed wire bat out from under the ring. Tiffany tries to avoid it, but gets hit on the leg. Becky swings for Tiffany's head, but misses and loses the bat. Tiffany hits a handspring back elbow, sends Becky through the barricade. Becky tries to go through the ropes. Tiffany whacks her in the head with a trash can lid. Becky puts a trash can on Tiffany's head. Then she leg drops the trash can. Tiffany just kicks out. We get a spine buster from Tiffany onto Becky on the trash can. Then Becky kicks out. Tiffany slides around 10 chairs into the ring. Becky counters with Tiffany's arm attack into a slam. Then Becky transitions to an armbar. Tiffany slides out of the ring with Becky still working her arm. Tiffany lifts Becky and powerbombs him on her onto the ring steps. Tiffany hits a swanton off the top that puts Becky through the table. Becky and Tiffany are both out. Tiffany wakes up and sends Becky into the ring. Swanton by Tiffany. Becky kicks out 2.9. Tiffany misses a moonsault off the top to the floor. Becky then immediately hits the manhandle slam out on the floor. Tiffany kicks out of the pin, and Tiffany tries to hit the prettiest moonsault ever on the stacked chairs. Becky moves and hits a manhandle slam on the chairs for the win. And your winner and still NXT Women's Champion, Becky Lynch. This was a fun, big old mess of a match. I mean, they brought everything out. I think Tiffany really, this was her coming out party, basically. She hung in there with Becky, showed that she could wrestle, she could brawl, she could use weapons. This was a heck of a match, and was it a better match than the men's? I wouldn't say on the match level, but as a spectacle, as a sports entertainment thing, I thought it was on par. And I had a feeling Becky was going to hold on to it. I didn't think Tiffany was going to win it back right away, because I think Tiffany is, I think she's got the rocket strapped to her after this. I think she, she's one of those, again, like Braun. I think she I think she's going to be up in the main roster by the Rumble. So, what are your thoughts on the main event of this PLE?
Yeah, I mean, they had a lot to live up to with the match that happened right before them, and they knocked it out of the park. And like you said, it technically, in-ring wise, probably wasn't as good as the previous match, but it was a brawl. They beat the crap out of each other. I heard some opinions that this match wasn't as good as a lot of us thought it was, but I'm going to say that that's bullshit. But yeah, I thought this was really good. Stratton, like you said, it was kind of a coming out party for her. Really establishes her as somebody that can even hang with, somebody that's like a main roster legend at this point, with like Becky Lynch. And I think, over the last 3 or 4 months with Becky, I think, a lot of people were kind of giving her shit that like she doesn't really care and she's not really giving it her all in this newest run as a face and all that kind of stuff. I think she started to kind of take some of that shit personally, and she's really knocked it out of the park in the last few months. She's had that really good match with Trish. She's had a few good matches on NXT with some of the girls down there, and has had 2 really, really good matches with Tiffany. So she's been killing it lately, and like you said, Stratton, I think she's probably got the rocket strapped to her, and she'll be main roster bound before too long, because you could give her the NXT belt back, but she's probably above that at this point, which is a weird thing to say, but I think she's definitely headed for bigger and brighter things for sure.
All right, so we'll move on to the NXT show from Tuesday, October 3rd, and we get an in-ring segment to start the show with Becky. Becky basically coming out saying that she isn't clear to compete, but neither is Tiffany. She then puts Tiffany over, saying they beat the piss out of each other. And when she won the title, she said she wanted to elevate it to heights that I had never seen before. She is eyeing night 1 of Halloween Havoc for her next defense. Lyra Valkyria interrupts and says that Becky's debut career is what made her want to become a wrestler. But before Becky can accept Lyra's challenge, Indy Hartwell's music hits. Indy walks out, reminds Becky that she never lost the title. Then we get Roxanne coming out and says she wants her title back. Becky apparently, has booking power and books a triple threat match that night between the 3 of them to see who gets title shot at Halloween Havoc. And we get a tag match from spilling over from the PLE with Tyler Bate and Butch versus Gallus. We get into the match. We get Gallus working over Tyler. Tyler manages to tag in Butch. Butch clears the ring. 10 beats is Bodhran by Butch. Butch then takes out Joe Coffey with a dive. Mark catches Butch with a ghetto blaster. Mark tries a suplex, but Butch reverses into the X-Plex. Tyler tags in and lands a shooting star press. Airplay spin by Tyler on Wolfgang. Butch then takes Wolfgang out with a dive. Mark escapes the Tyler driver. Then Bate lands a rebound clothesline. Butch and Bate land double Tyler drivers for the win. And then after the match, we get Joe Coffey attacking Tyler and Butch, and we get Ridge Holland running in down to the ring and makes the save. So I like Becky coming out stating, they went through a war, putting over Tiffany and figuring out who her next challenger is going to be. We get a nice kind of a brawling match here with Ridge Holland getting a big pop at the NXT arena that you never thought you'd hear. But no, it was a fun match. What are your thoughts on the opening of the show?
Anything to take Gallus out. I think the NXT arena is kind of starting to feel the way I do about Gallus. I'm just playing. But yeah, good to see Becky put over Tiffany to start the match and kind of establish the possibilities of who her next contender could be. And yeah, the match was pretty good. Didn't get a ton of time, but I think these four guys, kind of like I said earlier, have a ton of chemistry. They were all four of the guys, and then five, including Joe Coffey, were in NXT UK the whole time. So these guys have faced each other numerous times with numerous partners and stuff like that. So just a ton of chemistry, and they could probably have a good match with each other with their eyes closed.
Yep. All right, so we get an in-ring segment from our new NXT champion, Dragunov. He puts over Carmelo. Today he can barely stand, but he does stand. He promised he would fulfill his destiny, and then he'll turn his championship reign into a symbol of incomparable passion. He will protect that promise with his life. Long live the Tsar. We get Trick Williams' music hit. Crowd goes pretty much nuts for it, and they congratulates him, but he isn't out here because of the championship. He's out here because someone else won a title at No Mercy, and that he is a new NXT North American champion. He credits Dragunov for pushing him to the next level. And then at No Mercy, Williams whipped that trick. Then Carmelo comes out. Carmelo tells Dragunov that he appreciates the kind words. Carmelo asks Trick why he's thanking Dragunov, and he's been telling Trick for years that he's going to be a champion. Carmelo tells Trick that winning the title is one thing, defending is another. Trick asks Carmelo what he meant by that. Dragunov asks the same question. Dragunov tells Hayes that this is a conversation between champions. If Carmelo doesn't think they're done, he can come see him when he figures that all out. Carmelo tells Trick if he wants to follow his footsteps, Trick needs to focus on Dominic tonight. Dominic Mysterio interrupts. Mysterio said he promised Mommy he would bring his title back home. Carmelo tells Trick that he will be in his corner if the Judgment Day gets involved tonight. Dom then asks Williams how long he'll be in Hayes' shadow. Trick declines Carmelo's offer. He won the title alone. He will defend it alone. Good segment. When it's deserved, when these guys put over their opponents, Becky putting over Tiffany was big. Sometimes, you get the, boo-hoo, putting over the other person, da-da-da. No, I think both of these times was really good because they were great matches, and it's nice that they acknowledge it on TV. Now we get more intrigue here in the Mello Trick thing that's happening, and we get Dragunov. It sounds like that Mello is probably going to get his rematch sooner than later, and we get a little more juice to the Trick Dom rematch. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the Raw before this, Mommy had told Dom that if he didn't come back with the championship, to not come back at all. So. Big threats thrown at little baby Dom. But yeah, like you said, I think it's good that the winners of these matches are putting over their opponents, and how much of a war that it was that they. And it helps. It always helps when it was a really good match as well. So that, like you said, and then this continues to elevate Trick. He's already out there as a champ with the NXT champion. And yeah, him and Mello had a few barbs with each other, so that's kind of continuing to push that little bit of dissension between the two best buds that will continue to grow as we go on. So, yeah, good segment.
All right, so we get our number one contenders match for the NXT Women's Championship: Indy Hartwell versus Lyra Valkyria versus Roxanne Perez. We get Becky at the commentary desk for this match. We get Indy tossing both women all over the ring. She hits a slam. Roxanne breaks up the pin. Roxanne rolls Indy into a prawn hold. Tilt-a-whirl head scissors by Roxanne. Indy falls out of the ring. Valkyria breaks up Roxanne's dive attempt, sends her out of the ring. Valkyria lands a drop kick through the ropes to Roxanne. Hartwell gets to her feet. And we get Lyra trying to drop kick Indy, but she gets caught. Indy lands a boot. Perez appears out of nowhere, wipes Indy out with a tope suicida. After the break, we get Roxanne hitting pop rocks on Indy. Roxanne goes for the pin, but someone pulls her out of the ring. It ends up being Kiana James. She then decks Roxanne. Becky gets up from commentary and boots Kiana into next week. Back in the ring, Lyra lands a splash off the top rope on Indy for the win. And your winner, new number one contender, Lyra Valkyria, which I think was the right result here. Roxanne, is always going to be sniffing around the title picture until she, wins again. And Indy, was somebody to put in there. She's already moved up. She has a story. She had a point that she had actually never lost the title. Mm-hmm. And, but I think they're building up to, making that foundation between Becky is not old, but I'm talking about the veteran Irish girl versus the new Irish girl, basically. And there's a built-in story right there. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts on Lyra winning this match?
Yeah, and Lyra, kind of looks up to her. And Indy didn't even need to be in this match because eventually on Raw she gets a title shot anyway. So there is that. But, Lyra wins with her belly flop into the pool splash, of course. Still needs a new finisher. But no, that was, like you said, for storyline purposes, this was definitely the right result. The wily veteran Irish lady versus the new up-and-comer Irish lady. Built-in story there. Lyra's been a big fan of hers for a long time. She's inspired by Becky, or was and has been inspired by her. So definitely a good matchup, and definitely one that needed to happen. So good result, best result that could happen.
In post-match, we did get a standoff between Becky and Lyra, and we get Tegan Nox walking out on stage and says she'll beat both of them if she has to. All right, we move on to Gigi Dolan versus Blair Davenport. Gigi attacks Blair during her entrance. She then beats down as the bell rings. We get a basement dropkick to the face by Gigi. Blair responds with a double stomp off the second rope to Gigi's back. Gigi kicks out. Blair works over Gigi. Then Blair tries to bring in a chair, but Gigi takes it away. The referee takes the chair from Gigi before she can hit Blair with it, who then rolls her up for the win. Then we get the start of the women's breakout tournament, Izzy Dame versus Kalani Jordan. And we get Kalani Jordan winning with a split-legged moonsault for the win, which she's, for somebody as young as her, she hits that pretty damn good. So any thoughts on these two women's matches here? We get Gigi and your beloved Gigi versus Blair, and we get our first of the NXT Breakout Tournament matches.
Yeah, the Breakout, Kalani is one of the bigger names coming into the tournament. She's probably one, if not the most recognizable name, just because she's been featured on TV. So obviously getting her out in the first round, being the first match, was a good idea. Against this, the new girl Izzy, Dame that I've actually never seen. I don't think she's been on Level Up or anything. I think
she has been. She's a taller girl. She's green, but she's got some good size to her.
Yeah.
So I think she could be like one of those that, like not like Raquel level, but she's like that kind. Like I think she could be, move into that, bigger girl role in NXT.
Yeah, I got you. So, yeah, I mean, and the match was fine. Like you said, kind of both of these girls are green, so it wasn't going to be a Matt classic or anything like that. But that split-legged moonsault she does is very well hit and looks very impressive whenever she does hit it. And then, the Gigi Blair match was, the way it ended ends up with kind of like a roll-up, so obviously it probably wasn't going to be the end of it, anything. But good to see Gigi get a win. These girls don't exactly work at a breakneck pace either. They're kind of very methodical in everything that they do. So not the quickest match, I'd say, but not bad for what it was.
Yeah. And, look, the NXT Breakout Tournament, girls are all green. Mm-hmm. And the matches weren't pretty as we move forward through them. But, I think they were booked well. They all worked hard, and I'm just going to put that out there before we get through them because, these are matches are not all great, and but there's a lot of potential that comes out of this. So, all right. So then we move on to we go backstage. We got Duke Hudson, Andre Chase asking Thea Hail if they can accompany her to the ring tonight. Jacy tells her it's a good idea, and then she leads the group in a Chase U champ. And we get a women's tag match here. We get Thea Hail and Jacy Jayne versus Lola Vice and Elektra Lopez. Lopez and Vice work over Thea. We get Thea managing to tag in Jacy. Jacy then clears the ring. We get Elektra missing a spear in the corner. Jacy lands a nasty right hand. Thea begs for the tag. She gets tagged in and traps Elektra in the Kimura, and she taps out. So before we get to the next match, which is kind of a big our main event, any thoughts on this? And where do you think they're going with this whole Jacy Jayne thing with Thea?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I would think maybe it's going to end with maybe Jacy trying her best to turn Thea to the dark side, and maybe Thea's just like, nah, I need to stick with the guys that have been with me since the beginning. But who knows? I mean, she could go full heel, full dark, and join Jacy, and that they could split off onto their own, because obviously, Duke and Andre bring them to the ring during this match, so they're obviously still somewhat associated with them. Good to see them get a win as a team. Obviously, this is one of those opportunities where Mr. Chase and Duke don't actually screw them out of wins, because it seems like that's all they've been doing lately to poor Thea. So, but they could go a couple of different directions with this whole team going forward. But it'll be interesting to see for sure.
All right, so we move on to our main event of the night, which is for the NXT North American Championship. Trick Williams defending against Dominic Mysterio with Rhea Ripley. As soon as the bell rings, Dom is all over Trick. Trick runs over Dom with a shoulder block. We get a drop kick by Trick, pop-up uppercut by Trick, and then Dom falls out of the ring to confer a mommy. After a commercial break, Finn and Damian Priest walk to the ring. Dom then takes control after distraction from Rhea. Dom then works over Trick. Trick counters with Three Amigos with a leaping neck breaker. The crowd's going nuts for Trick. Trick fires up and lands a flurry of strikes. Then we get a super kick by Dom, spinning slam by Trick, rolling Uranagi by Trick. Then Dom kicks out. Rhea then slides her title into the ring. Dom DDTs Trick on the championship, which Trick amazingly kicks out. Then we get a 619 by Dom. Dom goes to the top for a frog splash. Trick gets his knees up. Then we get running knee by Trick. JD McDonough then hits the ring and tries to attack Trick. Trick knees McDonough in the face. Priest then hits Trick in the head with the championship. Dom lands a frog splash for the win, and we got our winner and new NXT North American Champion for the second time, Dirty Dom Mysterio. I really enjoyed this match. I thought Dom and Trick put on a really good TV main event here. I like the Judgment Day interference and still bring more star power to the NXT show. And, Trick to winning the belt to lose it 3 days later. I guess in the long run, it'll add to the storytelling. But, again, you can't. I don't want to keep going back to, what was the plan with Ali if this was going to be all to it. But we got to move on. The guy's gone. Who cares? It's kind of like, okay, well, It doesn't matter. Yeah. But yeah, so it's interesting though. I did not see, Trick losing it back 3 days later, but I think once, Rhea told Dom that, you're sleeping on the couch, buddy, if you don't come back with that championship, I think Dom was gonna take it back. So what are your thoughts on this main event?
Yeah, once the threat was there, it seemed pretty obvious that he was going to get it back, or, it would have been interesting to see maybe what would have happened if he didn't. But I thought pretty confidently that he would get it back, just because I think they were going for a pop at the PLE to get, maybe Trick a big win. You do wonder what maybe would have happened with Ali if he had stayed around, but like you said, it doesn't matter because he's not still around. But yeah, anytime you can get Judgment Day on the show, I think it's they're a big main roster act. So anytime you can get them featured on this, it brings more eyes, it brings more attention, because these guys are willing to show up down there and help their buddy out. So it makes it seem like it's a much bigger deal than maybe it is to some people. But yeah, definitely a good match. I think I think this one was like actually a little better than the PLE match. Not much better, but I think they were both pretty comparable. But I think that I like this one a little bit more.
All right, cool. All right, so now we move on to the show from October 10th. Now, this was a night we got our Tuesday Night War. Went head-to-head with AEW, had to move due to the MLB playoffs taking precedence on Wednesday night. AEW had loaded up their show as well. I believe, from what I can remember, it was the in-ring debut of Adam Don't Call Me Edge Copeland.
Yes, he was in the main event that night. Yep.
Yeah, and I can't really remember what else we had that night on the AEW show, but ratings-wise, NXT does end up winning the night. And we're going to tell you, we're going to show you why it is. There's not a shocker. Which a lot of these were already announced. A lot of these appearances. So we get Cody Rhodes coming out to start the show, and asking the NXT universe what they want to talk about. Crowd chants "yeet" at him, and he never thought he'd stand in that ring, but it feels right. Because, he plays up his dad. He was kind of the heart and soul of NXT for a long time. Cody then announces a men's breakout tournament and then says he's heard chatter about a certain tag team tournament. He then confirms that the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic is coming back. He then also announces that he's a special guest general manager for the night. Basically, he can make matches. So then we get your NXT champion, Ilja Dragunov, coming out to welcome Cody to NXT. He said Cody's announcements give hope to NXT, but he also just wanted to meet him. Then we get Dom coming out to talk trash to both. Then we get our GM for the night, Cody, ultimately booking Dragunov versus Dom Mysterio with LA Knight as the special guest referee. And that gives a huge pop. And then we also get another main roster talent here in our first match, which is Asuka versus Roxanne Perez. We get Asuka winning via pinfall after a roundhouse kick to the head. Then she showed respect to Roxanne after the match. Afterwards, Shotzi ran in and prevented Kiana James from attacking Roxanne. So, yeah, hot start here. Definitely bringing out the big guns, especially, you got Cody, who's probably your top babyface in the entire company. Then we got, announcing LA Knight is being there as your probably most over guy right now. Mm-hmm. And then we get Asuka, who is tremendous and had one hell of a run as the NXT Women's Champion with probably one of your stars of tomorrow, top 3 women stars of tomorrow, Roxanne Perez, who they see big things coming from her. And of course, Roxanne loses nothing in this, losing this match to Asuka. I mean, it would have been a huge shocker if she did pull off the win. But I thought it was a good match. I mean, Asuka coming down and doing her thing, and I love the slight repackaged tweak of Asuka's character. So I really enjoyed it. This was one of those nights that it felt like we were back in the 90s during the Monday Night Wars, and it was a lot of fun because I had NXT on my TV and I had AEW playing on my Mac. As you could tell, which one I was paying more attention to as we talk. But what are your thoughts on the Cody segment and the Asuka Roxanne match?
Yeah, I thought the match was really good. Like you said, Roxanne doesn't lose anything by losing the match. She even, she hung with her for, the entire time the match was going on. So, and Asuka's probably one of the greatest NXT, if not the greatest NXT Women's Champions of all time. So losing to her, doesn't hurt you at all. The fact that you hung with her and hung with a main roster talent, the way that you did, made it look just even more incredible, and that you're definitely a star for the future. Having Cody be the guest GM for the night was probably a good move. He's one of the most over guys on the main roster right now, along with the announcement of LA Knight being the special guest referee for the champion versus champion match later on in the card. A lot of people, thought that a lot of the guys on NXT should feel like lower, tier or whatever for having to have all these main roster guys. But I think it just elevates them. It gets more eyes on those guys. It's not like, a lot of the main roster people were in these matches, winning these matches. Obviously Asuka wins, but it gets more eyes on the guys that are wrestling. It's not like they had main roster people face main roster people on this show just to, show that, that they could have a better show or whatever. But it was showing you the future and the people that, are coming up. So, I really disagreed with a lot of people that kind of thought that this was cheap that they did this. I think it was very smart, and they probably should do it more often, honestly.
Yeah, it was like a showcase, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
They do put NXT on main roster shows at times. They say, "Oh, this is our NXT talent," but this was let's use some of our clout. Look, it's like, who was watching Birmingham Barons games until Michael Jordan goes and plays for them, but what about, all those times you have the rehab assignments for major leaguers and they go and they play on the AAA team and they get huge crowds there and they get to see these guys. I mean, it's really about trying to kind of put a spotlight on them. They're not stealing their thunder. I mean, look, Becky, we'll talk about Becky and her run at NXT. It was tremendous. I mean, I loved it. I think what happened there, what she did for that women's division on that brand was probably unlike anything we've seen before. So no, I mean, look, having Cody as your guest GM means, look, he's not just there in the opening segment. You're going to see him again during the night. And yeah, these guys, they're there. I mean, I didn't really understand the whole Asuka Roxanne thing, but you know what? I was there for it. So, yeah. I mean, out of anybody to come down to take on, Roxanne, yeah, sure, Asuka, why not? You could have sent down any number of, a main roster females to take on Roxy, but yeah, this was good.
I think they chose her because she's so synonymous with old NXT, so it just made sense.
Well, she never lost the belt, right?
True.
It's tremendous. I mean, if we ever did a Mount Rushmore of NXT women's champions, I mean, Asuka's on there, probably with Becky, not Becky. I mean Bayley, Sasha, and I don't know who your fourth would be. Maybe Rhea. I don't know. But that's for another podcast. All right, so we move on to our next match, which is a pub rules match. We got Gallus versus Ridge Holland, Tyler Bate, and Pete Dunne. We get Gallus rushing the opposition before the bell. This one saw a dartboard, bar stools, and garbage cans come into play. The Young comes after one of the coffees gets hit with a pint of beer, and then Ridge, Tyler, and Butch then powerbomb through a table and the glass for the pinfall win. Then we get Lyra backstage for a promo, but she's interrupted by Tegan Knox. Tegan says she was close to beating Becky on Raw. She wants to put Lyra, she wants Lyra to put her title match with Becky on hold, but Lyra says she's not letting anyone get in her way. Then we get, John Cena coming out to the ring to address the NXT universe, cuts a rah-rah promo. Braun comes up the ramp and talks trash to John Cena, who says Braun's attitude is his downfall. Cena didn't come to rip him, but now that he's here, he's actually a teachable moment. Braun attacks Cena, sets up for the spear. Cena then counters, goes for an attitude adjustment, but Braun runs off. So, I mean, the pub match was like, a fun brawl. Was what it was. One of those typical TV matches that you see, around like they just did on Halloween, with all the the weapons and all the chicanery on the outside. We get Lyra kind of, Tegan kind of playing up the, let me get another shot thing, and then we get John Cena getting a rub here and getting him some FaceTime with Braun Breaker. So yeah, continued. We had a little fun match here, and then we with a couple of main roster guys, and then we get moving Lyra forward in her story, and John and building up Braun. So what do you think of this part?
Yeah, I thought the pub brawl was, like you said, it was just a good weapons little brawl. Good to get these guys on the show. I thought good physical weapons brawl, kind of like I just said. And then Lyra not playing around. She said that I'm not giving anybody else my opportunity. I'm not putting it on hold. This is my shot, and I'm taking it. And then Cena having this segment with Braun, not only puts Braun up there with, one of the best of all time, gets him out there talking to him, kind of playing off of him, seeing what he can do. And I think he more than held up his end. So really good segment. And I think Cena elevated Braun for sure, kind of throwing back and forth with him.
All right. Then we get backstage, we get Cody greeting Tony D and Stacks. The champs say they have a problem. They explain things to Cody. They pitch a tag team rumble with the winners getting a shot at them at Halloween Havoc. Cody confirms it and names the match the Bada Bing, Bada Boom Battle Royal. Then we get Baron Corbin kind of promo on Dragunov and asks why he's padding his resume with matches against Dom Mysterio. Says Dragunov should give him a title shot because he's the only one that can put him down. Then we get our NXT Championship match with Ilja Dragunov defending against Dominic Mysterio with LA Knight as the guest referee. We get LA Knight preventing Finn Balor from interfering in the match and knocked him off the apron. Then we get JD ending up eating his LA Knight's finisher. Trick ran out to stop Rhea Ripley from getting involved. Dragunov ultimately wins after hitting Dom with his finisher. Baron Corbin walked down the ramp and looked to confront Dragunov, but Dominic Dijak attacked Dragunov from behind. He left the ring and told Corbin he was too late and that Dragunov was all his. So, this match was good. It was fine. It was really, a point to get more people on TV here and kind of start it was basically moving storylines forward. Again, Dom has been really solid in the ring and Dragunov, I don't think can have a bad match. And, the Judgment Day making their presence known again. We get LA Knight with a huge pop. Sidebar. I'm going to plug something really quick here. If you guys haven't been checking out the North-South Connection YouTube, right now there is a countdown going on over there of they're ranking all the War Games matches going from, the quote-unquote worst to the best. And Logan and I are a part of it, and we're going to be there for two of them. And one of them, involved LA Knight. We're not going to give away where, it is in the countdown. It's already dropped that we did, what was it, number
21.
21 was the women's War Games match from 2021. So you should check that out on the North-South Connection YouTube channel. But there's another one, LA Knight's in it. It's on the countdown somewhere. And I got to tell you, play that match and then this show next to each other. And, there's been clips of when he first went back to being LA Knight in the main roster to now. This is insane. You hear him come out as LA Knight, and it's like, yeah, it's LA Knight, yeah. But this is like, LA Knight. Friggin' roof goes off the top of the building. It's insane. But what do you think of this match here and everything happening with, around this Dragunov Dom match?
Yeah, he's going to elevate pretty much anybody he's in the ring with. Like you said, he's probably incapable of having a bad match at this point. And I had the same thought with the LA Knight thing. Like, I watched the War Games that you're talking about, obviously, and not much reaction there, honestly. They do the point thing with him, and most of them, yeah, and stuff like that. But everybody's into it, and everybody jumps out of their seat when he comes out at this point. So I do love that he wore the black vest and the sunglasses the whole match with the referee shirt under it. So I do love that he stayed in attire the whole match. So I really like that. But yeah, the match was really good. Obviously, like I said, Ilja can't particularly have a bad match, and obviously it was more of a storyline progression kind of thing, like you said. Obviously, to set up like maybe where Dragunov is going to go after this, with Dijak coming out and Corbin kind of making his presence known as well. So obviously, we might see something with those guys going forward, but we'll see.
All right. So then we go backstage with Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, and John Cena shooting the breeze. Cena tells them to relax. They'll be champions again in no time. Melo says they'll get both their titles back soon, but there looks to be some more tension from Trick's perspective. Trick asks Cena how he knew it was his time, and Cena says they should talk. Then Baron Corbin finds Cody Rhodes backstage, says he wants a match because Cody owes him. Cody asks what he's talking about, and Baron reminds him of the last time they saw each other. He says he wants to wipe the slate clean and wants a match with Dragunov. Cody doesn't give in, but says Baron will get a title shot if he wins a triple threat against Dijak and the winner of Carmelo versus Braun tonight. And we get another NXT Women's Breakout Tournament match. We got Lola Vice versus Danny Palmer. We get Lola Vice winning after hitting a roundhouse kick to the back of Danny Palmer's head. Then we get a Brian Pillman Jr. Vignette, shows he's flipping through channels on TV. Talks about not knowing his father and how he's not anyone's junior. So he wants to inflict pain on the same business that has given him so much grief. However, he doesn't want fans to think of his dead father. He wants them to think about him. He doesn't want to be called Brian Pillman, but he's going to use the name of the man who really raised him, King. All right. So, we get some nice with Mello Hayes. With Mello and Trick. We're continuing on the slow burn there. Mm-hmm. We get Cena giving them the rub, basically doing the segment with them. We get the setup of the triple threat match, with Baron Corbin, Dijak, and the winner of Metal Braun. We get an okay women's breakout tournament match with Lola Vice versus Danny Palmer. Lola wins. She is probably there with Kalani Jordan as probably the most experienced and most known women in the tournament. And we get this interesting vignette for Brian Pillman Jr. So what do you think of all this action here and backstage stuff?
Yeah, again, a slow burn for Carmelo and Trick. I would love to know what Cena took Trick to the side to say. I wonder what that conversation was about. I believe Jade Cargill actually shows up somewhere in this little part to talk to Shawn Michaels a little bit. So, she shows up and has signed him with the company and all that at this point. Sets up the big triple threat for the next week. Carmelo and Braun will be, whoever wins that will be the third member, obviously. They do a NXT Anonymous too, where Paul Heyman's talking to Ava Raine, so a little bloodline stuff going on.
Yeah, I popped that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting as well. Lola and Danny, another breakout tournament. Nothing that's gonna blow you away or anything like that. But Lola loved the roundhouse kick. She can actually hit it. She needs to give Lyra some pointers. So
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah. So Vice hits the. It's more of Aleister Black's Black Mass kick. She just kicks him right in the face with a roundhouse. So I really like that finish for her. I think it works. And like I said, she hits it better than Lyra for sure at this point, which I don't know if they're really the same move, but that one's much more effective and looks a lot better. So I'll give Lola that for sure.
Yeah, it's up there with Xia Li's also. Xia Li has been known to injure people with hers, but
yeah, that's true.
But yeah, the thing, we love Lyra. I mean, we talk about her. We just want to see the moves, her finisher and setup moves. They just don't fit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's just like everything else is great, but I think she's a little too small for the splash, and then the kick, it's hit or miss really with her, literally, when she hits it, when she tries it. So. And what do you think of the Pillman Jr. vignette?
Oh, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think all of the vignettes that they had done for him to this point, and especially this one, was really good. It really got you excited to see what they would do with him.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So we get our main event for the night. We get Carmelo Hayes, accompanied by John Cena, versus Braun Breaker, being accompanied by Paul Heyman. We get Solo Sikoa running out and fights with John Cena. The two brawl to the back. Carmelo uses distraction to hit a code breaker on the floor and then follows up with a top rope splash for the win. We get Braun popping up right after the bell and laying out Carmelo. He then gets to the mic and says, win or lose, and that he's the only one badass in WWE. And you kind of knew what was going to happen next. You hear the unmistakable gong. And we get the American Badass Undertaker cutting him off, riding his motorcycle to the ring. Taker gets in Braun's face as the crowd chants, holy shit. Braun tells Taker to listen up and calls him an old timer. Braun says he's the only badass around here. Taker said he's been watching Braun and he's a special, but it ain't today. And Taker then decks Braun. He then picks him up and chokeslams him. He leans in and gives Braun some advice. There's always someone bigger and badder, and Braun just met him. Taker raises Melo's arm and celebrates with the fans to close the show. So, yeah, there were a lot of these were leaked. It was leaked that The Undertaker was going to be there, and you knew they were setting something up. And as soon as the word badass came out, I had a feeling we were going to see the American Badass. And, you know, I know people complain like, oh, you're burying him by getting – no, you did not. I mean, being in a segment with Taker and getting chokeslam, I mean, it's putting you over. And Taker has shown that he will do that through his career. And then if there's anything he can do now, he does.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the whole, Solo Cena thing, setting up for a future, continued strife between John Cena and the Bloodline. Melo, makes his way back into the title picture. Yeah, and I don't have a problem with this. There's always, it's putting Braun into the, punk kid that thinks he's, unstoppable until he meets probably the biggest phenomenon in WWE history. And I'm okay with it. So what are your thoughts on the close of the show?
Yeah, and I mean, even before he attacks him and stuff like that, he tells him that he's special and he's going to be a big time star going forward. So it's not like he shit on it. He's not like he said, "Oh, you're a punk kid and you're a piece of shit and you suck" and stuff like that before that. He hyped him up and then he beat his ass. So, I mean that can only serve to help him going forward. The people that shit on this show at all are just morons, and we don't want them watching anyway. So, just a really good match. These two are obviously going to be linked together for probably the rest of their careers. They just are the two biggest pillars of this brand for the last 2-3 years at this point. When Carmelo was North American Champion and Braun was NXT Champion and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, ever since 2.0 started, these have been kind of the two breakout guys that you definitely always had your eye on. So, and at this point, they're two guys that I don't think could have a bad match with each other if they tried. I feel like I've been saying that a lot, but it's just there's a lot of guys on these shows that have a lot of chemistry with each other. So, which is really good. But yeah, just a really good way to end the show. And Taker being there was nice. He, like I said, he put over Braun with his words before taking him out with his fists and his choke slam. So good stuff.
All right. Move on to the NXT show from Tuesday, October 17th. We open up with the Bada Bing, Bada Boom Battle Royal. Winners become number one contenders for the NXT Tag Team Championship. They are following the tag Battle Royal rules, I guess, that if your partner is eliminated, the entire team is. We get down to the final three teams, which is Chase U, the Creeds, and Angel and Humberto. The Creeds end up dumping out Humberto, but the referees don't see it, so Humberto and Angel roll back into the ring and dump out both the Creed brothers. The final two teams will battle in a tag match to determine the winner. And we end up getting Chase U winning that match after some interference to the Creeds. And I thought it was fun. I mean, I didn't really see Chase U getting into this spot. What are your thoughts here on this Battle Royal and into this match?
Yeah, the Battle Royal was fine. Battle Royal is, are really hit or miss for the most part. Most of them are pretty boring, but I thought this would have some good, decent spots. And the cheating to get back in was a clever way to, the Creeds probably should have been in the tag match afterwards, but it was a clever way to get them out for sure. I didn't see Chase U taking this at all, so definitely interesting result, and I look forward to them facing Tony D and Stack. So I thought the match was really good, though, so I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on about these tag team battle royals with these tag team rules? Are you in favor of that, or should you're still in until the whole team is out?
I could go either way. It really doesn't matter, I guess, but I would like it to be where you have to throw out both guys. But I understand that that's probably the better way to book it, I guess.
Yeah, especially when there's like an insane amount of people in the ring, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So then we get an in-ring segment with Carmelo Hayes that he reminisces about the previous week, all the interactions he had with Taker and Cena. We get Baron Corbin interrupting, making fun of him for acting like a fan. Then we get Dijak interrupting, telling them both that they are focused on the wrong thing. They should be focused on what he's going to do to them. And then Dragunov appears on the Tron and says he'll be watching tonight. Then Dragunov announces he asked Cody for one thing before he left last week, that tonight's match is now a fatal four-way, and they put Trick in it. Everyone trades barbs. Carmelo looks devastated. Dijak make a big deal about Trick stabbing Carmelo in the back by never even talking to him about this. Carmelo says he's not falling for it. He's willing to put anyone down to get his title back. Dijak specifically asks about Trick. Carmelo and Trick stare daggers to each other. Corbin and Dijak then attack them, and then the Trick and Mello clear the ring. Carmelo bows up like he's going to attack Trick while his back is turned, but he thinks better of it. Then we get backstage. We get a Fallon Henley and Tiffany Stratton argument. And then we move on to another match in the NXT Breakout Tournament, Carmen Petrovic versus Jada Parker. Both these girls I've seen, I think Petrovic maybe have a little bit more TV time. Yeah. I mean, she's decent. She's got some decent striking moves. She goes with that kind of that jiu-jitsu style, I think, or something like that, some martial art. But, she's somebody that with time, I think will be pretty good in there. And she gets the win. What do you think of the segment we just had with Carmelo, Dijak, and Baron and Trick setting up for later, and then the Breakout Tournament match?
Yeah, it's a good way to get a little bit more excitement for the triple threat, now fatal four-way. Obviously, adding Trick to it, more tension for Mello and Trick to kind of go at each other. And I thought Dijak and Corbin did a pretty good job barbing at them two to kind of show like, oh, he's willing to stab you in the back. He's trying to cause even more of that dissension between the two guys. And they teased a little maybe attack after they clear the heels out of the ring. So just continuing to tell the story of Trick and Mello maybe exploding at some point. So definitely interesting segment there. And Carmen Petrovic has been a level up girl. She's been on a bunch that I've seen lately, so she's obviously somebody that they're trying to kind of hotshot with this breakout tournament, get her a little bit more featured. So I think they're both good athletes for sure. You can definitely see the athleticism, but they'll put it together. I think Carmen will definitely be somebody that'll be featured going forward and definitely will improve and get a lot better.
All right. So then we move on to Lyra Valkyria versus Tegan Nox with Natalya. We have a good back and forth match with, towards the end, we get a corner cannonball by Tegan. Tegan then lands a Molly go round. Lyra kicks out. Then we get Nox landing a PK. We get Valkyria kicking out again. And we get an appearance by our WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, walking down to the ring. And in all the confusion, Valkyria then lands a head kick and pins Tegan, winning the match. After the match, Natalya, Nox, Green, and Niven all fight off. Lyra then grabs a mic and says she talks about how she's going to beat Becky Lynch. Becky then appears on the Tron and welcomes Lyra to the big time. Then we get another ladies match. We get a Kiana James versus Shotzi with Kiana James all over Shotzi as soon as the bell rings. She then slaps her. Shotzi slaps Kiana back. Shotzi then traps her in a rope choke. Kiana slams Shotzi into the ring post and boots her off the apron. Then we get Kiana going for her purse. Then Roxanne Perez hops the barricade, takes the brick out of Kiana's purse. Shotzi then hits senton for the win. We've had a lot of it has to do too with the breakout tournament, but we've had a lot of women's matches on NXT lately, which has been really great. I thought the Lyra Tegan match was fine. You get the kind of the interruption. I wouldn't say interference by the women's tag champions. Of course, we got to build Lyra up a little bit more to beat somebody, who's basically on the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kiana versus Shotzi is fine for what it is. It kind of helps propel the Kiana Roxanne feud forward. So, what are your thoughts on these matches here?
Yeah, that's pretty much it with that Shotzi Kiana match. It was just more to push the story of Perez and Kiana forward. Kiana screwed or seemingly screwed Roxanne the previous week. So now Roxanne's kind of returning the favor. So Shotzi gets the win. Good to see Shotzi get a win. She didn't get too many of those on the main roster. So good to see that. And like you said, Lyra needed a victory over somebody that's main roster to kind of show that she has any chance to take on Becky. Becky cuts the promo after the match saying, welcome to the big time. Welcome to, having a big title match against a main roster star. So definitely builds more intrigue to that match for sure.
All right. So we move on to another breakout tournament match. Here we got Ariana Grace versus Brinley Reese. Brinley Reese, who I haven't really heard of before. Ariana Grace, she plays up the character stuff really great here.
Yeah, she's really good at that.
Yeah, she's what's his face's daughter, right?
Santino
Mariana's daughter. Ariana Grace taking on the Brinley Reese like the peanut butter cup. Sorry.
And she was a substitution for Jakara Jackson, so she wasn't actually even supposed to be in it anyway. So.
Oh, okay.
Brinley, I mean, she wasn't supposed to be in it. So.
Yeah, I kind of like Ariana Grace again, showing what the next kind of wave of women talent here coming up. So then we get a number one contenders match, our main event: Carmelo Hayes versus Dijak versus Baron Corbin, and we go all the way towards the end of the match with Carmelo surprising Dijak with the first 48. Carmelo goes up to the top, then Baron Corbin pulls him off the top, hits a DVD on the floor. Then Carmelo sends Corbin into Dijak. Dijak drops Corbin with high justice. Hayes then breaks up the pin with a super kick. Then Carmelo runs into a boot from Dijak that turns him inside out. Corbin then escapes Dijak's feast for your eyes and hits end of days. Before Baron Corbin can pin Dijak, Carmelo hits nothing but net. Carmelo pushes Corbin and then pins Dijak for the win. Your winner and new number one contender, Carmelo Hayes. And then we get a thing with Jade Cargill appearing on screen, tapping for a watch. So, fun main event. I think the right person wins here to, at least in the meantime. I couldn't really see Dijak or Baron Corbin getting there yet, in terms of, being a number one contender. And then getting the continued really great appearances of Jade Cargill here. Not too much, but enough to build the intrigue up. So what are your thoughts on the close of this night?
Yeah, just going back to the breakout tournament, Ariana Grace is somebody that I think she got hurt right as she was starting to kind of get a little bit more featured at first. So I think she'd be somebody that would be kind of higher up the card at this point if she hadn't gotten hurt. So this is her kind of trying to reestablish herself. She's got the character stuff down, I think, for sure. She's got the, beauty queen thing going on. She's got the sash and the crown and all that kind of stuff. So she's definitely got the character stuff down, and she'll get it in the ring because, Santino, while being a comedy character, was a very good wrestler throughout the years and is, has a school and all that kind of stuff. So she's good to go. She'll get there eventually for sure. And then the main event, really good match again. With Carmelo involved, you're going to get some really cool spots. And like we said, we both enjoyed Baron for the most part. And Dijak's a guy that I definitely think isn't featured enough and probably isn't pushed the way that he probably should be, because I think he's definitely really talented to be as big as he is for sure. I think it was smart to have Carmelo kind of steal the victory from Baron because Baron seemed to have it won. So, and then with Jade, obviously, like you said, I think it's really smart to have her be on, but not do too much. Just kind of, tease that idea that she could be there at any point. So, really get into the show.
All right. So we move on to the show from the 24th of October, which is Halloween Havoc Night 1. We get Shotzi and Scarlett in the ring. They're hosting the event tonight. And then our first match is a Devil's Playground match. Roxanne Perez versus Kiana James. Ring is surrounded by things you'll find at Playground. Roxanne comes out in a Freddy Krueger costume. Who wore it better, Roxanne or Alexa? Remember Alexa's Freddy Krueger a few years ago?
Yeah, I think Roxanne looked pretty good here tonight. So.
Oh yeah, she did. No, my son and I had a debate about that.
I gotcha.
But we get, Kiana is not into that stuff. She has her normal gear. So after the going back and forth through the break, we get them trading shots with whatever they can find at ringside. Kiana tosses Roxanne to the crowd. Then Kiana sets up superplex on the top rope off the barricade. Then Roxy counters and tries a Russian leg sweep off the barricade. Kiana then tosses Roxanne away. Kiana misses a moonsault off the barricade, but lands on her feet. Then Roxy hits her with her own bag, then hits her with pop rocks on top of Kiana's bag for the win. After the match, Roxy dumps out the bag to reveal the pieces of broken brick inside. So this was a fun match. I mean, this is a feud you didn't think you would see. And I think Roxy going over here is the right call. What were your thoughts on this match?
No, yeah, Roxanne going over was definitely the right decision. I loved the use of the seesaw as a weapon at one point in this match. I really popped for that for some reason. I do love she kind of used the rings as like a swing at one point to drop kick the trash can too. So I liked the use of the kind of swing set as a weapon throughout the match. But yeah. Good little physical match. Obviously, Roxanne will move on from this, but I think it elevates Kiana as somebody that maybe could, if Roxanne gets the belt at some point again, maybe they can have a title feud at some point. But definitely Roxanne needed the win to kind of elevate herself back into maybe going for the title once we figure out who the champ is going to be after the main event tonight. So,
all right. So we get Lexis King making his in-ring debut, a.k.a. Brian Pillman Jr. versus Dante Chen. Forgot he worked there. But you need guys like that to put the other guys over. I thought Lexis King looked really good in this match. I think he looked way better than he did in AEW with, instead of having that kind of 80s, 90s mullet. It's kind of more of a distinct look, like almost like, a mane almost kind of thing. Some innovative offense there. A modified hangman swinging DDT I thought was really good. Then we move on to a women's breakout tournament semifinal with Kalani Jordan versus Ariana Grace. We end up, Kalani ends up hitting the split-legged moonsault for the win here. So, I thought this was actually decent. Going into this, I didn't really wasn't sure who was going to win this between these two, because I thought they were kind of both at the same level, so to speak. So it wasn't like in the first round where you kind of saw who was like the newer girls or who's the more green girls who you couldn't see them, going forward after the first round. But definitely. Probably the best match we've seen in a breakout tournament up to this point. So what do you think of Lexis King's in-ring debut and this breakout tournament match?
No, I definitely thought this was the best match from the breakout tournament so far. These two girls, I think, are a little bit further along than maybe, like you said, some of those first-round competitors were. So I think they definitely add a little bit more to their repertoire and a little more comfortable in the ring. So I think you're definitely right on that one. And I thought Lexis King looked impressive. The presentation and the entrance and all that was really well done. He kind of glides in the throne or whatever you want to call it, his big chair or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of like that, how he kind of came out from the side. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that presentation was really cool. I thought the match went well. It put him over for sure. He comes out and says, Brian Pillman is dead. Long live Lexis King. So really getting the new name over. The finisher was fine. I think he probably could do something a little bit more impressive, but I think it'll do for now, while he kind of concocts something else that could put him over. So, but I thought he looked good for his first match for sure. So, and then, like I said, the breakout tournament match was probably the best one we've seen so far.
All right, so we go to a rehab facility with Von Wagner asking Mr. Stone why he challenged Braun Breaker to a match. Mr. Stone says he knows he's going to get destroyed, but if he can get one good shot in, it'll be worth it. Von tells Mr. Stone that he's his friend, and Stone agrees. And we get back to the hosts of the Halloween Havoc, Shotzi and Scarlett, and we get the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile walking on stage asking for a match next week against Humberto and Angel since they cost him a shot. Shotzi agrees and said they should determine the type of match by spinning the wheel and making the deal. They agree. Ivy spins the wheel, lands on tables, ladders, and scares. So that's the match we got coming the next week. Then we get our tag team championship match, Tony D and Staggs versus Chase U, accompanied by Thea Hail and Jacy Jayne. So we move into the match towards the end, and we get Andre firing up and landing the Chase U stop. Stack DDTs Duke on the apron. Superplex by Tony D. Stacks immediately lands a diving headbutt. Duke breaks up the pin by German suplexing him, Tony D, into the Stacks, which I thought was a really fun spot. Then we get Jacy Jayne sliding a crowbar into the ring. Andre refuses to use it. Jacy then gets up on the apron, and Tony D accidentally knocks her off. In the confusion, Duke Hudson takes Tony D over in a rolling prawn hold for the win. Your winners and new NXT Tag Team Champions. Choo-choo, as my son says. I mean, I was surprised here. I mean, this is probably one of the more surprising title changes I've seen in a while, because I was not expecting this. I don't know if I was expecting Chase U to hold the gold at any time. I was trying to figure out what they were doing here with Jacy. I mean, obviously, if Tony D and Stacks were heels, I could see like Jacy like joining the family maybe. But I mean, I think the family does need another member, like maybe a female. But I thought this was a good match, like with a surprising result. Well, what'd you think?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised that they took home the gold for sure. Once the crowbar kind of got involved, I thought, I don't think Tony and Stacks were turning heel if they used it or something like that, but that seems to be their weapon of choice. So maybe he uses it just to, get this victory. And they don't turn heel or anything like that, but it just, that's what he needed to do to win. So, but yeah, I could see the family maybe getting a female somewhere down the line, but I don't think Jacy's that girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely an interesting result. Definitely didn't see Chase U winning. I can't say I'm disappointed because I really do like them. I think they're a good team. I thought the match was very good. I think these are guys that are probably underappreciated by a lot of people that, may not watch NXT very often. I think these are four guys that can go in the ring and are two really good teams for sure. So, yeah, I thought it was a really good match, and interested to see where this whole Chase U thing goes.
All right. So we got to move on to our next match, which is a lights out match between Gigi Dolan, your beloved Gigi, and Blair Davenport. We get the lights dimming in the arena when the match starts. We move forward to after the break when Gigi pulls a table out from under the ring. Blair then drops a toe hold onto Gigi on the chair before flipping the table over. Crowd boos Blair. Gigi, whips Blair with a belt and gets a near fall. Gigi hits a Falcon Arrow off the commentary desk through a table. Blair then sends Gigi back into the ring, hits a Kimi Go for the win. Kimi Go. I'm trying to pronounce that move. And we get, with Blair wins. And then we get our other NXT Women's Breakout Tournament semifinals match, Carmen Petrovic versus Lola Vice. Decent striking match here. But Lola kind of not out of nowhere, but almost kind of like just hits that, like you said, like a black mass for the win. I think she has looked really good in this tournament so far, probably better than anybody else up to this point.
Yeah.
All right, so let's pause there because we have a big deal coming up. So what do you think of the lights out match and the NXT Women's Breakout Tournament semifinal match here?
Yeah, the Breakout Tournament was a real physical match. These two girls have kind of, MMA-ish type
Similar styles.
Heel, yeah, they're very strike based and kind of holds based and kind of stuff like that. So very very similar styles for sure. She hit the spin kick again really well. So I'm gonna hype her up every time she hits it really well, because we know our main eventer here tonight isn't as good at hitting that all the time. So. But Blair and Gigi, like I said earlier, they're never going to work a breakneck pace or anything like that. They're very methodical in what they do, but they use the weapons effectively. I think it was a good match. Wasn't great by any means, but I think it definitely did good to Blair got her win back because Gigi had beat her previously, but I think it did good for both girls for sure.
All right. So we move on to our main event for the night, which is for the NXT Women's Championship match. Becky Lynch defending against Lyra Valkyria. We get Lyra immediately attempting her spin kick finish, which Becky avoids. After the break, Becky sends Lyra into the ropes. Lyra then lands a crossbody. Becky then matrixes to escape the pin. Becky and Lyra trade strikes. Lyra avoids a baseball slide from Becky. Lyra then lands a drop kick through the ropes. Becky gets hung up in the ropes, and Lyra lands Becky's patented rope hang leg drop. Becky kicks out. Lyra and Becky trade counters. Lyra then lands a drop kick off the top. Becky kicks out again. Becky lands a diamond dust. Valkyria kicks out. Becky locks Lyra in a cross armbar. Lyra counters into a pin. Becky kicks out. Butterfly hold by Lyra. Becky escapes. Lyra then surprises Becky with a running powerbomb. Becky kicks out again. Lyra goes up top. Becky cuts her off. Becky hits a superplex into a DDT. Lyra somehow kicks out. Then Becky goes up top and gets cut off by Lyra. Lyra sets up a superplex. Becky punches Lyra off the top. Lyra does a backflip and lands on her feet. Then Becky runs into a spinning head kick by Lyra, which she hit pretty good, actually. Kick out by Lynch. Then Becky surprises Lyra with a manhandle slam, and Lyra kicks out. Then Lyra counters a manhandle slam into a roll-up for the win, and your winner and new NXT Women's Champion, Lyra Valkyria. After the match, Becky and Lyra hug. I thought this was a great match. Really enjoyed it. Lyra looked great. Becky, sold like you wouldn't believe. I was a little surprised that we got a title switch here, because one, we already had a title switch earlier in the show. And I would have to go back and look through the results of every episode of NXT when we've had two title changes in the same episode. Sure. But, when you have somebody like Becky Lynch, would you expect her to lose the belt on TV, not at a PLE? I mean, she wins the belt, right, on TV. So, I guess it just makes sense. I do think Lyra was next in line if Tiffany wasn't going to win the belt back. And interested to see, who steps up and who she faces going forward. But, I enjoyed the match. I thought Becky's run as NXT Women's Champion paid dividends, like big time, really elevating this women's division, elevating the brand, getting more eyes on it. And, I thought it was great. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the run as a whole really benefited the roster for sure. Yeah, this one was definitely surprising as well. I won't say I didn't expect Lyra to eventually beat Becky, but I thought it would probably be at Deadline, which is our next PLE in December. So, I thought she probably beat her at some point, if it wasn't Tiffany, kind of like you said. I think like after the previous matches with Tiffany, I think we kind of, like we said earlier, I think Tiffany's kind of above the NXT Women's Championship, which is probably not good to say, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say.
She doesn't need the belt.
She doesn't need the belt. She needs, to be higher profile with feuds up on the main roster and stuff like that. So, but this is a huge win for Lyra. Like I said, I think she probably was going to win it eventually anyways, but it was, they pulled the stunner here and gave it to her at Halloween Havoc. So it'd be interesting to see where she goes with the belt. The match was excellent. I thought they did really well. Like I said, I think Becky eventually had a fire lit under her once people started saying that she wasn't having good feuds and matches on the main roster anymore. So she really has started to knock it out of the park. So she she's been having a hell of a few months for sure.
All right, so we move on to our final show we're going to cover on this episode of the podcast, which is from October 31st, Halloween night, actually, for Halloween Havoc Night 2. You got lucky I didn't do it on the first night. All right, so we get our opening match was just tables, ladders, and scares. Creeds versus Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo. Moving forward through this match a bit, after our commercial break, we get Angel and Julius having a duel with the chairs. Angel then clocks Julius. Brutus then hits Garza with the chair. Humberto flies out of nowhere and kicks Brutus's chair into his face. Brutus and Julius hit a Doomsday Brutus ball through a table for the win. And then our second match of the night, building up on, I swear to God, I didn't know who it was impersonating Tiffany the previous week until somebody said something, but it was Fallon Henley, and we get Tiffany Stratton versus Fallon Henley. As Fallon makes her entrance, Tiffany attacks her from behind. Tiffany then puts Henley in a figure 4 around the ring post. The refs break it up, and this one was over before start, and it's a no contest. So what do you think of the opening match here, the tables, ladders, and scares match, as well as the no contest here?
I love the Brutus ball through the table. That was incredible.
Yeah, that was a good spot.
I do love that they've started using that as their finisher, as we've seen. They actually appeared on the main roster the night before that, facing the Alpha Academy. So
got the win.
Yeah, and got the win. So yeah, 2 big wins in a row for them. That match was really good with Humberto and Angel. With a ton of good spots, with a ton of good weapon spots throughout. And then, Fallon and Tiffany, they had their little spot the week before with the impersonation. So, Tiffany obviously was pissed. She was making fun of her for sure. So, Tiffany came out for some revenge and just threw him around. So, not disappointed that the match didn't happen. I think it ended up being better that she kind of just attacked her and took her out.
All right. So we get something that's going to be occurring throughout the show, with the Metaphor showing up in a haunted house dressed like the Scooby Gang. They're there to get Noam Dar's heritage cut back from Tozawa, who had stolen it from them. I gotta say, I laughed at these. I thought they were funny.
Mm-hmm.
It was goofy, and it was just like something to break it up. It's Halloween. Who cares, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we get our North American Championship match. With Dirty Dom defending against Nathan Frazier. Excuse me, pardon me. Dom works over Nathan in the corner, then he speeds up the pace. That guy, I get tired just watching that guy move in the ring.
Mm-hmm. He's so fast.
I swear, with that bouncing off the ropes thing he does, I'm like, I clearly, I'm like, my head's tired just following it. And then he lands a flurry of offense capped with a drop kick that sends Dom flying out of the ring. Nathan then runs circles around Dom before blasting him with a flying elbow smash. After the break, Dom and Nathan trade strikes. Nathan lands a dive while Dom is caught up with Ripley. Dom then avoids a shooting star press. Nathan lands on his feet. Dom then drops Nathan crotch first on the top rope. Dom goes up top. Frazier cuts him off with a superplex into a rolling cutter. Dom kicks out. Rhea tries to slide Dom the title, but it falls out of the other side of the ring. Nathan then goes up top. Dom pushes Frazier out onto the floor. Dom then hits the frog splash for the win and successfully defends his North American Championship. After the match, we get Wesley hopping the barricade, attacking Dom. Wes poses with the title as Dominic slinks away. Then we get backstage. Jacy Jayne tries to convince Andre Chase to help her cheat to win the women's tag titles match later that night. Chase refuses, of course. Tony D and Stax walks in, say they want their titles back. Chase and Duke tell the D'Angelo family they will get their rematch. Back at the haunted house, everyone but Noam Dar gets kidnapped. So I thought this Nathan Dom match, I mean, who thought, look at us a couple of years ago that we'd be talking about Dom in such high praise for all these matches he's having. I like the return of Wesley. Kind of waiting to hear how they explain this one. He kind of like walked away like he couldn't win this, he couldn't win that, and then he's back for his North American title. Mm-hmm. We get the continuing of Jacy trying to I guess infiltrate Chase U. Is that the best word to say? Like kind of contaminate them with her evil ways, and then we continue on with the haunted house. So, what are your thoughts on the match, and then the return of Wesley and the backstage stuff?
Yeah, definitely excited to see Wes back, just because he's fantastic in the ring. So, him being on TV every week can only lead to more great matches. Dom won this match with little to no help from Judgment Day, so it was good to see him get a rare clean win. Clean for the most part, I guess is the best way to put it.
Clean when it comes to the Judgment Day.
Yeah, exactly. And Fraser's a guy that's been really great in the ring. I think he'll kind of elevate maybe into the next year. I don't think he's quite there yet, but I think he'll continue to elevate and improve, and maybe win a belt within the next year or something to that effect. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Wes's game plan is, what his motivation is. I think he's probably better off to go towards kind of the main event picture from here, because I think he's been the NXT North American Champion, held it for a really long time. So maybe seeing him elevate a little bit more would be probably the better way to go. Like you said, Jacy kind of infiltrating and trying to make Chase U a little bit more evil, a little bit darker, is a way to go for sure. And then Tony D and Stacks come in and want their title shot back. So, and Duke and Mr. Chase are more than willing to give them the shot whenever they want it. And then the continued metaphor hijinks in the haunted house with all the other ones getting kidnapped was really funny.
All right, so we get Braun Breaker versus Mr. Stone. Breaker chases Stone around the ring. Stone rolls back into the ring. Braun then runs him over with a clothesline, tosses him all over the ring. Stone tries to fight back, but Braun shrugs it off. He then ends up cutting him in half, basically, with a spear for the pin. After the match, Braun lays Stone out on the ring steps, then he tries to crush his head with the other part of the ring steps, but Von Wagner's music hit. Von then walks over. His head's wrapped in bandages. They end up brawling. He chokeslams Braun onto the ring steps. Wagner then tries to crush Breaker's head with the ring steps, but Breaker moves. Just like how he put him out, referees and officials hit the ring to break it up. Then we move on to the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Thea Hail and Jacy Jayne. Hail and Jayne meet Niven and Green in the aisle. Jayne and Hail push Niven into the ring steps. Hail and Jayne work over Green. Hail then lands a dive after the break. Piper and Chelsea are working over Thea. Thea manages to tag in Jacy. Jacy clears the ring. Jacy tries to get Chase to give her the NXT tag titles to hit Chelsea with. Andre refuses, tells her she doesn't need it. Chelsea then surprises Jacy with her unprettier for the win. And your winners and still Women's Tag Team Champions, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. We get Alba Fire and Ilja Dawn watching from the bird's nest. So we moved the whole, Von Wagner, Braun, Mr. Stone thing forward here, which, is far cry from being Robbie E. over at Impact. I do remember that. I was watching Impact actually then for a time. Cheap plug for Highway to the Impact Zone, by the way.
There you go.
Show hosted by my partner here. Mm-hmm. And then we move on to the the women's tag match, which was fine. Given an NXT team a title shot it's always good, and again bringing some star power and some more eyes to the thing. But of course you knew they weren't going to win the titles, and then Alba and Ilja kind of keep an eye on things because they were the last NXT Women's Tag Champions. So of course I think we're gonna see them versus Chelsea and Piper at some time. So what do you think of the Braun, Mr. Stone, and the women's tag match?
Yeah, based on the little rehab video we had with Vaughn the previous weeks, I think it was obvious that Vaughn was coming out after the match to help Mr. Stone. So obviously pushing forward to them having another match. Hopefully this is the blow off. Hopefully this is the thing that ends Braun Breaker's time with NXT. Hopefully he has this match with Vaughn, puts him over, makes him a bigger star than he already is, and that's kind of Braun goes to the main roster, gets in the Royal Rumble, and kind of goes on from there and continues to be a huge star. So hopefully that's kind of how that works out. And then, the tag team title match was more about Chase and Jacy Jayne continuing to kind of disagree with each other about how things should be done and how they need to win matches and stuff like that. So it was a solid match. Like you said, maybe Alba and Isla on the main roster will go after Chelsea and Piper next. So that could be something interesting to see. But yeah, it was more about the Chase U kind of inner turmoil.
All right. So we move on to the finals of the NXT Women's Breakout Tournament. Kalani Jordan versus Lola Vice. Basically, I think if you were handicapping from the beginning, this is probably what you thought your finals were going to look like based on how much they've been on TV and how much their experience are. They end up trading pin attempts. Lola lights Kalani up with lightning kicks, running hip attack by Lola. Then we get a break, and Lola then works over Kalani's leg. Kalani then surprises Lola with a face buster. Kalani goes up top, and Elektra distracts her. She then misses a moonsault. Lola almost takes her head off with a spin kick to the head. She hit it really good, too.
Yeah, this was the best one, I think, so far.
Lola pins Kalani. Really, really fun match, actually. And then we get a backstage segment with Von Wagner and Mr. Stone arguing. Von wants a match with Braun next week. Stone refuses to get the match made. Von says that Stone stepped up for him. Now it's time for him to end this. Von winces and clutches his head. Stone begrudgingly agrees to get the match made. Yeah, no, I thought the right call was made for the breakout winner, and of course we get the setup for the more setup for the match next week. So, what are your thoughts on the finals here of the women's breakout tournament and the little movement forward of the storyline of the Braun and Von thing?
Yeah, definitely definitely the right winner. I think she definitely showcased the best throughout the tournament. With the kick and with just her in-ring acumen and stuff like that. These were definitely the best two girls in the tournament. And I think it was a pretty good final, all things considered. So, Lola, I think was definitely the choice to go with. And then Vaughn and, Braun, they're going to have a match at some point. Vaughn wants to have it next week. Stone doesn't seem to think that he's going to be healthy enough by that point. So we'll see if it happens. We'll see if they push it to deadline. But they're on a crash course for each other. So it's going to happen at some point.
All right. And we're on to the main event, which is Ilja Dragunov defending his NXT championship against Carmelo Hayes. And, we get a lot of back and forth here. We'll skip forward a little bit to Ilja getting fired up and landing a spine buster for a near fall. Both men trade pump kicks. Ilja surprises Carmelo with the H-bomb after Carmelo's own lariat ends with him falling into the mat with exhaustion. Carmelo then gets to his feet. Ilja then lands a nasty chop to the back of his head. Ilja then tries the Constantine special again, but Carmelo drop kicks him off the ropes. Carmelo tries another apron DDT. Ilja then counters into a DVD on the apron. Ilja lays Carmelo out on the commentary desk. Carmelo is motionless. Dragunov then dives off the barricade and puts Carmelo through the table with the H-bomb. Ilja then sends Carmelo back into the ring and tries a coast-to-coast. Carmelo tries to counter with the first 48, but Ilja then counters that and lifts Carmelo off for a lawn dart. Carmelo escapes and hits the first 48. Ilja then kicks out. Ilja lands another H-bomb. Carmelo kicks out. Carmelo lands another first 48, goes up top. Trick Williams' music hits, and Williams walks to the ring. Carmelo looks shocked. Ilja then leaps up to the top and superplexes Hayes. Dragunov almost runs through Carmelo with the Torpedo Moscato for the win. And your winner, and still NXT champion, Ilja Dragunov. Trick pulls Hayes off the mat and stares daggers through him. There's a commotion backstage. Cameraman runs back, and we see Baron Corbin has attacked Dragunov. Dragunov is on the floor as Corbin screams at him to end the show. So I thought this was a good match. Not as good as the No Mercy match, but still very good. And then we get again, the continued movement forward of both men in their next direction with, what is going to be, Trick and Mello wherever they're going to go with that, and Baron Corbin versus Dragunov. So, what do you think of the main event to the show?
Yeah, I kind of like that they kept, Trick didn't attack Mello, and they just he pulls them up real hard. So I kind of like that they left that kind of up in the air. Nobody attacked anybody. It's being led to believe that Carmelo is the one that took out Trick before the Fatal 4-Way, so he wouldn't take his spot. But the match was really good. Like you said, it's not as good as the No Mercy match. But, I mean, if you're talking about TV main events, it's never going to be quite as good as a PLE kind of type of match could be, because it's just not going to get the time that it probably deserves. But for a TV main event, this is probably about as good as it gets. Like we've said 100 times, these guys are great. They're even greater together. So, really, really good stuff. And yeah, like you said, it leads you to think that Corbin's going to be the next guy to go after Dragunov, as he's the last person that beat him. So, makes sense. Other than Mello, of course. And then, obviously we might get that blow off to Mello and Trick, obviously having tension. So, but looking forward to both of those matches for sure.
All right, cool. Well, we did it. We got caught up, not as laborious as our last episode. Definitely fun. A lot of stuff happened. A lot of great stuff happened. I think this was one of the best runs that we've covered, I think.
For sure.
Since we've been doing this. And looking forward to seeing how they do throughout the rest of the year. So we are here. We are recording this November 6th. It'll be dropping later this week. So we probably won't be doing another episode till after deadline. So we will, on our next episode, we will be talking about the build up, and then the event itself, and then the kind of the aftermath. So we will come to you probably, if not the week after deadline, the week after that is what we're probably looking at. I will actually be at deadline this year, going with our friend John Arsenio D'Amato. So really looking forward to hanging out with Johnny. I've been to an NXT live event with Johnny, and there's no greater sight than John D'Amato dancing with a solo cup as the Street Profits come make their way out in the arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Now, it's a fun time. I'm really looking forward to it. Going to give a live kind of recap, I guess, on our next episode, since I will be there and can give some insider, some on-site reports. But no, I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a while since I've been to a big show, and really looking forward to it. So before we go, Logan, what do you have to throw out there? Podcast you're hosting, guesting on, social medias? What do you got?
You got to get Jad to bump that Trick at some point. So you gotta.
I'm gonna have the phone at the ready. Trust me. I do have him dancing with the solo cup on tape, I guess, on film. I don't know. Did I really age myself by saying that? I don't know.
No.
But no, yeah, I will get some Jad whooping that Trick that night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But podcast wise, you kind of mentioned earlier how about in the Impact Zone. We'll eventually talk about Robbie and Cookie when we get there in 2052. So, but anyways, just going through TNA. We're in 2006 right now, headed towards No Surrender 2006. Almost to Bound for Glory 2006, which is kind of a big show for them. We'll get to it and get to why that is such a big show for them. But other than that, we've got linking up luchas on the North-South Connection, talking about Lucha Underground. We're about halfway through season 1, getting towards the halfway point at least. And then Talking Docs is another show on the North-South Connection where we talk about documentaries. But just check out all the feeds, and everybody's killing it right now, doing awesome stuff. So just check everybody's stuff out.
Yeah, and you actually just made some appearances on the brand new show a few episodes in, the X-Pod.
Yeah, Exposition.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. The X-Men animated series, they're going through that. They're going to watch some movies too. Yeah, the first couple episodes of that been really fun. I'm not really on the pod per se. I'm just kind of in a chair, kind of listening to what Tim and Jenny say, and pop up with a few points here and there. So, but that's really fun to hear, Tim wax poetic about it.
Oh, I get a front row seat to that on Trader. So,
I
really enjoy doing that kind of stuff with Tim. It's really in his wheelhouse. Like he's got a lot of things in his wheelhouse. But yeah, speaking of Traders of the Lost Arks, we should be back soon. Having a little trouble nailing down a record date for our next episode, but hopefully it will be soon. This Fakakta Spider-Man arc that Tim did pick. I am not. I haven't finished reading them, but I am not liking it so far. They're not all going to be winners, believe me. That's kind of the point of the podcast is checking out these comics pods, and I'm just here for the ride, man. I'm kind of like you. I'm sitting back and I'm just listening to these guys. Just want to be part of the conversation. Want to learn, and I am enjoying reading it. Trust me. There's going to be every medium or everything has its ups and downs, and this is definitely what are we doing kind of comics arc here. But in terms of other shows, we got on the PlayStation Pop Experience, we have the Video Jukebox on a Day. That's weekdays at 8 a.m. That right now it's basically me, Steve, and Keithy, kind of rotating through that. Hopefully, maybe we'll get some other people in that at some point. On Saturdays, I try to release a pod blast of a live watch of a Pixar short. I do sprinkle in some Disney shorts in there. I'm thinking about doing Once Upon a Studio because I've watched that like 5 times already since it's dropped on Disney Plus, and I can't watch it. I will never not want to watch that short. I just loved it so much. The Muppet Pod, Miranda and I are trying to settle on a record date for the next episode. The Disney Pod, we just dropped Journey to Atlantis, which was a fun one. Was a movie I had not seen in a long time. It was good to revisit. Coming up next on that one will be Lilo and Stitch. And there should be a new episode of Cartoons of Our Youth coming with Matt Souza as my guest. So really looking forward to hanging out with Souza and watching a couple episodes of his favorite cartoon. And also on the Pop Experience, keep an eye out. I'm going through Star Wars right now on Blockbuster Rewatch, so the next episode that will drop will be Keithy Langston watching Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, with me, and getting Laugh in Theater. And also with the holidays coming up, look out for 2 live watch group live watches of Christmas holiday movies coming up. So I have not really decided on what 2 movies we're going to be doing this year, but I think I have an idea. So just keep an eye out for that. And it's lots of fun. And like Logan said, check out everything here on the PlayStation Wrestling Network, on the Pop Experience and the North-South Connection in podcast and YouTube form, where Logan does pop up maybe a little more frequently than I do. But Ryan is kind enough to invite me on some preview shows and some of these little projects that they like to do. And I have a lot of fun doing them. And it's a good time. And getting to do these 2 YouTube videos with Logan is a lot of fun. So really enjoying that. And then check out PlaceToBeNation.com and the Place to Be Facebook group. Okay, so well, thank you all for listening. I want to thank my friend, my co-host, Logan Crosland, for joining me on this episode of Who's Next, and we'll see you on our next episode. Take care.